Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have a very special guest. Mr. Kanten Russell is with us. Yes. How are you, dude?
Very good, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Dude,
so rad, bro.
Such a pleasure to have you, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch our show, but I talk about you all the time. You were big. You know what? Inspiration, yes. We were definitely skating the different obstacles. We were getting down on your tech too, but you
inspired Chris to jump.
were this. I mean, you were
one time that Chris
jump
jumped.
clips. Yeah.
It was a 3-stair, but it was pretty good.
That works.
It was pretty good.
Yep.
No, but I just admired like this the way that you would just fly down these crazy gaps and over rails, and I was just a big fan.
I appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
appreciate you coming by, and it's going to be a big treat for me talking about all this stuff. Osiris The Storm, you guys were celebrities, dude.
Yeah.
You know? Defcon,
Yeah.
the shoes, all that stuff, man.
We had a lot of people I toured with, the Jerry Sues, the Mayhews, the Little Bees, a lot of people we all rolled with a lot.
You guys
No
were
doubt. Huge
literally on fire.
Yeah, that
When
was
the storm came out, you guys were. You were RV buses, like tour buses, literally.
Paintballing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
paintball. Those are fun
Literally.
times, though. Those like big tours.
Hey,
with your
you remember
boys.
those. You
Yeah.
remember those, yeah. I mean, I don't know if we're going to ever see those kind of days again, and maybe that's a good thing, but
They're coming.
there's a little excess in some ways, but
Those days are coming back.
I just saw
Yeah.
Scheckler's Instagram. He got a big tour
Yeah.
bus for
it's
his
coming back. Everything in the 90s comes full circle.
It
doesn't
does. It does.
Fashion,
It seems like it
everything,
is.
yeah.
Tour buses are back.
It's all coming back.
Well, the storm was what 2000 around there.
1999.
99. Okay.
Yep.
Damn.
And I remember because we had the premiere, and I remember there was like 3 showings, and the first 2 were totally like packed out, which is I'd never seen a premiere like that. And I've run into kids like decades later, like, yo, remember me at that one premiere? I was like, dude, there's a lot of people probably there. Which premiere are you talking about? He's like, yo, The Storm. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna.
No, there's no way.
I was like, how in the crowd? Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm
Where was
sorry,
it,
dude. Like,
Spreckles?
yeah, Spreckles.
Yeah.
But did you guys, were there a bunch of different premieres at different locations too?
There was,
But you guys
that was
didn't-
the first.
that
like,
was the first.
That was the premiere, and the
That
other
was
ones
the
were
storm.
showings,
It
right?
was the
That's when it
storm.
stands
Yeah,
out.
it was a
that first
storm.
one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And but I remember when I think it was when the DVD came out,
Mm.
because that was the same night that my second daughter was born.
Oh wow.
No
So
way.
I remember going to the hospital, seeing her, and then later, like right before midnight, going to the skate shop for the DVD premiere, like launch party thing or whatever. It's crazy.
How is that they had a premiere for the DVD launch?
yeah.
It's already been.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, they were
You were guy, yeah.
they were promoting it, like
Yeah.
a lot of us were skeptical. We had these team meetings, and a lot of people were like, this is too much. 2 double-page spread ads in every magazine for months after months. Like, we were feeling a little self-conscious, like, hey, can we even deliver on this?
Right.
Like, that's
This
a lot
is-
of pressure, you know?
This
what I
is
mean?
like talks before the video was even done.
Right.
Wow.
Because we were seeing the ads drop and the video wasn't done. And I think it was putting a lot of pressure on everyone. Like, dude, we got to kind of deliver. Like, if you're going to do this. And T-Mag was like, it's going to work, And I was like, all right.
Well, I know you guys were like skating together probably, but were you guys aware of what everybody else had in the video? Like, were you seeing
little
all
bit.
this stuff that everybody was doing? Like
little bit.
Smolik and.
I mean, it seemed
really?
like you guys skated the same spots for the most part.
We did, but there was definitely some missions. I mean, back in those days, you filmed for videos for, 3 years easy, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And so there was like trips and secret mission trips and things that people were trying to keep a surprise just for the fun of it.
Sure.
So there were some things we probably didn't know.
Okay. But you guys were really getting self-conscious and like really, the pressure was mounting.
Well, and
so to
also we didn't want to like come off too you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
there's
yeah.
such a thing as like maybe overhyping,
Right.
like is this going to turn people off? We'd never seen that before. No one's advertising for videos like that at all.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
you guys are going hard.
Wait. So the VHS came out first, and then the DVD. Was there extra DVD part to it or something?
Yeah,
Oh,
they put
okay.
some extra footage. Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
why.
that
All right.
was supposedly between that one and the end. Those were the first 2 skate DVDs that ever came out.
Oh, the end.
Yeah.
Oh, that came out kind of similar time, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it came out after the storm. So, Tony Mag and all the owners were obviously very prideful that we that got out first.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at the end, I think they were taking their time to really do some extra stuff and, digitizing everything that was filmed because it was all film.
Yeah.
So, that was another classic too. I mean, those 2 videos, I remember even on one of my film sessions, it was me and Reynolds at City College skating the same spot, for like all day SD mission. And the footage that I got went to Storm, and the footage he got went to the end.
Oh,
Were you guys just there, happened to be there together, or was that a session that was
it wasn't
crafted?
it wasn't organized, but it
Okay.
just happened where we knew we were going to kind of be in the same area. It was 2 big crews. Like I was with the
gotcha.
crew, they were with the crew. We all knew each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely motivating to like see who's gonna land something first.
Right.
And Reynolds, being first try pretty much everything, that was when he did the kick flip down the 12 and frontside flip the 10 in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And he landed the kick flip probably first try, but it was such a big kick flip that he like broke his truck. Or should I say shattered the truck? You know what I mean? Like, or the kingpin broke something, and he was like working on his setup, and I was getting my run, the half cab, and then the backside flip.
Gotcha.
So I got that, and then his setup was done, and then probably second or third try after that he did it.
He did it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Classic Reynolds. Yeah.
2 guys. Was it just you guys skating on that, or was it?
There was probably a good dozen legitimate good skaters there, but I think everyone was just kind of like, you guys go
got
at
it. Wow.
That was a hot spot, dude. That I tripped out. The high school was right there, and the college.
Yep.
Crazy good spots right there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. What a time.
Yeah, it was
huh?
good times, man.
I mean, you guys made everything. I mean, stickers and posters, and I mean, look, you gave me a mouse pad. I had a Storm mouse pad.
That is
huh?
awesome.
I think that's
Look at
probably the
that.
last one for
Is that-
sure.
Well, listen, thank you.
Yeah.
But you guys went all out, and it was rad. I mean, you guys really did. Everybody killed it.
There's a lot of traveling, tours. That was the first time I'd seen like tour footage and video parts, so it was kind
Right.
of strange. I got suckered into actually doing like a voiceover.
Yeah. What do you mean you didn't
Oh,
like
after
it?
your part? Was it after your part?
So they brought me into like a sound booth, and they're like, "Yo, just talk about your experience, and everyone's gonna do their own like piece." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I did it, and I go to the premiere, and I was like, "Wait a minute, how come I'm the only one who actually talked?"
Oh,
Like did a voiceover.
Nobody else had a
Wow.
voiceover.
No one else did it.
And you were.
I was the only one who got
What-
suckered into.
What did you? I do not recall this. But what was the gist of it? What was the?
It was like at the end of my part, and it was like a demo where I backside 3'd over that whole pyramid to flat.
Yep.
And then I kind of put
You
my
did
hand.
it back to back.
Well, because I put my hand down, and as you know, John, in those days, like being sloppy was like not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, I'll never use that. So I had to go back and try it one more time. And while that was happening, I was running back. Everyone's like freaking out, and I was talking about what a sick time it was to travel with everybody,
Oh,
and what a
that's
great
right,
experience
I
it was
do.
to go on tour. And
Right.
and then I went and did it the second time, and then it faded out.
But you know what? I could see how that worked though,
Yeah,
because they kept the camera rolling. You went up there
Yep.
and you did another back 3.
Right.
Perfect.
I mean, it worked out, but
Yeah.
I was just like, how come?
Yeah.
How did I get? How did
But it
I
was-
get?
but
that?
it-
Who
worked.
presented,
It
who presented
worked.
that to you? Like to do
I don't
that?
remember. I mean, Schlossbach was involved,
Oh, shit.
filming a lot of that. I mean,
Flashy, hell yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess we could,
Legend.
once we rewind to the beginning, but
Right.
he basically was like filming a lot of our stuff at that time, and T Mag was like, "Yo, you're filming a lot of Kanten and Smolik and Brandon. Why don't you come on board and just like old times, like Shackle Me Not,
Sick.
and film our video?" So he was leading a lot of that.
So rad.
Yeah. And yeah, there was always, there's always going to be criticism, right? Like some of the stuff was a little cheesy, the parts, the paintball one, which I wasn't even there for. Thank goodness, I guess, apparently. But yeah, there's just some things a little cheesy. And some people at the end were like, yo, I'll re-edit this for free. You know what I mean?
No
Like-
way.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it was very controversial because a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right?
Sure,
You like you said, all these ads, all this hype, all this build up. So people had a lot of expectations, and then when they saw the rough cuts, they're like, I don't know about these kids.
Were you there for the
Wow.
storm flip?
Jerry's?
I wasn't there for that.
No.
Yeah, in the line, yeah, for sure. But trust me, I was there for a lot of storm trips at request at a lot of demos.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, that got requested a lot.
How funny is that one trick got
Like this labeled that.
labeled
Yeah.
as the storm flip?
I'm actually surprised Jerry even did it. Because Jerry, Jerry's Jerry. Like
Sure.
they would call it out, like, "Yo, do the storm flip." I couldn't even believe he actually did. I think he just did it to shut everyone up. And he would do it, of course, first try.
Right.
But
That
I don't think
become a
he loved that trick.
No, no.
I saw him do it recently on a bank.
He still has it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He still.
Hey,
he's got
Jerry's
it.
one of my favorites. I spent a lot of time with him on the road. He was younger than me. He would always ask us a lot of questions, and he was like always do or die. There's no like warm up with Jerry. Like if he's gonna do something crazy, it was like all in committed. And if he fell backwards and landed on something and looked like he died, that was him. There was no like, I'm gonna test the waters, I'll jump out of it. It just was like it was either gonna make it or not make it.
There's a lot of skaters like that remind me, and he's one of them. But also like Gino Iannucci is one of those. He'll no matter what, if his board's upside down, he's gonna try to land it. He's like that guy.
Yeah.
Mark Johnson, same way. Always he's constantly. Wherever the board is, he's trying to put his feet down.
Yeah, there's that intro to Jerry's part. I think it's in the America video where he just gets smoked every single spot.
That's classic Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's good. I mean, it's amazing when he makes it or doesn't make it. I mean, because he's all in.
Yeah, but it's funny to see that and then watch the mix. You're like, wow, that dude put in some serious work.
Oh yeah,
it's rad to
Especially
see.
when you can fall like that and get right back up and maintain. You know?
And he had such a good style, like, and the way he did his tricks, it was just fun to watch for sure.
Still killing it. I love it.
Yeah.
See him skating around. But I'm sure we'll get into more Osiris stuff because that was a huge part. I mean, we got your shoes over here, the Defcons 1 and 2, and then Big Brother stuff. I mean, we got to talk about a lot of shit. But let's go back in time also because, like, you grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
And how did you even just, like, start skating or, and get hooked up for the first time? Shop sponsor or something?
Yeah, so I grew up in Ocean Beach, which is in San Diego. And I think just being by the beach, people are surfing, they're skateboarding. I grew up playing a lot of traditional sports. I think you talked about that before, like, baseball, basketball. I was really into basketball. So all my family, like my mom divorced when I was like 3.
Okay.
She remarried when I was like 6, 7. And, we're actually, all our family's actually from Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh,
so
interesting.
imagine me hadn't stayed out there. None of that probably would have happened.
Right.
So she remarried and we were out. He moved us out to SD, and it was right by the beach.
Okay.
And
you said at 3, 2 or 3?
No, that was when I was 7.
7.
Oh,
So my mom was a single mom for about 4 years.
Okay.
And but yeah, I mean, had that not happened, I probably wouldn't have even been exposed to skateboarding. But a lot of my family's background was traditional sports.
Got you. I mean, you're tall guy.
Yeah. I mean, 6'1".
6'1".
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well,
let's
maybe
add
a little bit more.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe. It's like NBA, like always add an inch,
Yeah, that's right. But even 6'1" on the NBA is tiny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So
Small.
I think my dad would have been a little disappointed, but yeah, I mean, he had it all planned out. I played basketball in the leagues, and I was really into it. And the year I started skateboarding, I kind of started late. I think you talked about that. I was like 13.
Okay, I was 15.
I was going into junior high school, and one of my friends down the street was really into surfing and skateboarding. I was hanging out with 2 guys who I played baseball with a lot, and they already had boards.
Oh.
I think they had like the kamikazes or something, which was a
generic
sick board.
swap meet boards.
Well, for me, I was like a kamikaze. It looked sick. So then I borrowed one of their boards, tried it out a little bit, and I was like, man, I need to get something. So I talked to my parents, and then they went and grabbed me something from the swap meet, and it was a generic kamikaze.
Oh.
I mean, this thing was like double thick.
Oh wow.
It was like double thick. And I think you guys talked about this on Steve Size's episode, but like the skid plate was huge. Dome. I mean, there was no way anyone was going to ollie on anything like that because it was so big, like it's not going to happen. So I was riding that thing. It was terrible. It didn't roll. I think I was still borrowing their boards. And my friend who lived down the street from me was a really good surfer, a skater. He just happened to be like skating by, and he saw us out there trying to build a launch ramp. And it wasn't even legit. It didn't work. It had the sides of the ramp actually came up over it. So if you went up on it, if you tried to kick turn, you would hit the sides.
Gotcha.
So you just had to go straight over it. And he's like, yo, Ken, what's up, man? Like, you're starting to skate now? And I was like, well, kind of. Like, today.
It's my first day.
Yeah, pretty much, And he's like, yeah, man, that's sick. Like, what's up with this ramp? I was like, I don't know. We're just trying to figure it out. And he went up and tried to kick turn, and it didn't work. And he's like, dude, this ramp sucks. I was already kind of getting mortified because I knew he was like good at that, and it was kind of cool to watch him do his thing.
Sure.
And he's like, we're just gonna have to launch over. And he went full speed, launched over the whole thing. And I was like, dude, that was insane. And he's like, oh, you can do it. It's easy. And I was going too slow. And as I got to the lip, it just fell apart and fell on me. And I slammed.
The ramp fell
The
apart.
ramp just fell apart.
Oh,
Because we were just hammering the nails onto the side. We didn't know we were
You don't have
doing.
any like Thrasher ramp plans or
there's no
anything?
Thrasher ramp plans.
Okay.
So it was super ghetto. The thing fell apart on me. And he like picked me up and he like dusted me off. He's like, come on, dude, I got a legit ramp in my house. Let's go check it out. And I kind of look back at my friends. He's like, forget those nerds.
No.
He's like, yo, forget those nerds. Let's get out of here. Like, I literally never saw those two kids again.
So,
wow.
I never
how did
saw
you,
those.
did you know them before?
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, we played baseball together. We played
What,
for
they
like years.
disappeared? I don't understand.
He's like,
He scared them off.
He literally like looked at me, looked at those kids. He's like, dude, we're out of here. Just forget those nerds. That's exactly what he said.
wow.
Damn.
And I never saw those kids again.
It reminds
ever.
me of like
They only live 4 blocks from me. Never saw them again. I think I quit playing baseball pretty much right there. And I still play basketball.
you got to ditch
But that
two
was
geeks
it.
you with and come with me.
That was it. It was like a movie scene, right? It was like, yo, ditch those guys. Let's come with us.
my
And like,
God.
come with the
That's
cool
from-
dudes, you
From
know?
Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and
That's what you were
Confused,
doing.
100%.
Yeah.
It was literally, I never saw those kids again.
That
so
is hilarious.
So we went over to his house, and he had like a Steve Stedham paddle board, which was insane. And he had his own little launch ramp that he kind of used the launch ramp, kind of a quarter pipe. He had it pushed against like a garage or something. He was doing frontside slash grinds on it and launching over it. And I was like, this is it for me. I'm going to do this from now on.
That's it.
it.
I just fell in love with it.
And what did you, I mean, obviously from there, you had to upgrade the board. I'm sure, did you go to like a legit skate shop?
Yeah,
then?
so he was sponsored by South Coast Surf Shop.
Okay.
He took me over there, I picked out a Tony Hawk board because I wanted a Powell because he had a Powell.
Right.
You know, he had the Stedham board. They didn't have a Stedham, so I got the Tony Hawk because Tony Hawk was, that killing it at that time.
Sure.
So it was one with the kind of like crazy nose and all that, so I got it. And of course, all the accessories, the tail feather, the rails. All the things you probably don't need on the board, which eventually just fell apart and fell off it anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So we got that, and that was it. Like, yeah, first legitimate board, and we just every single day skateboarding. And I was still playing basketball, so I go skateboarding all day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go to a basketball game, run out of juice in like the fourth quarter. My dad pulled me aside, like, look, like you gotta make a decision. Like you're running out of gas in the games, and like this, you got a whole plan for you with basketball. You need to pick one or the other. So I thought about it, and later on I was like, yep, I picked skateboarding. And he was like, that wasn't the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
And he had a problem with it. He had talked to my mom and my uncle, and my uncle's like, look, you gotta let him do what he wants to do.
Right.
If you force him to play this one thing,
He's not gonna
resent
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so shout out to my Uncle Bill. Thank
Uncle
you
Bill,
for-
shout out
yeah,
Uncle
Uncle
Bill.
Bill.
Shout out.
Straight
He's the
up.
one who really
Yeah.
made it happen and just said, look, let's be reasonable. Let him do what he wants to do. And if he doesn't like it, he'll come back.
Well, listen,
To
I mean,
basketball.
we could have been interviewing a Laker right now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But
Yeah.
parents back
Point
then,
guard.
like, they didn't know how to support a skateboarder back then.
they
You know what I
didn't.
mean?
You're
Like
right.
you could totally support a basketball player because they know about that whole world.
There's a path.
There's like they don't know where to go with that. Like, how do I help my son do that?
Yeah,
It's
but you
true.
can support them by just
Being there for
No,
them.
let them do what they want to do.
Yeah, but I think
Right.
that's initially I think because I go with my
No, you're
parents, they supported me, but they didn't know how.
Right.
So and I don't
That's
know.
it. No, that
yeah.
was it. It was just like, well, what do you do with skateboarding? You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
is there like a team, or they're like, this doesn't sound like it's gonna work out too well for you. So, but being parents, they're just like, look, do what you got to do and
That's
figure
it.
it out.
Uncle Bill.
Uncle Bill,
does.
shout out.
Man. But it's also, there is, I mean, did you have to show them magazines, or was there any type of like, there could be.
Well, that was actually not a good thing. So,
Oh.
so the first magazine I saw was at the local store, like a liquor store, and it was in 1986. I think I saw it when I was digging through the magazines. It was like August '86. Vallely was on the cover,
Okay.
doing a hand plant or ho sad plant. It was like a yellow cover.
What magazine was it?
Thrasher.
Oh, Thrasher. Okay.
And then the very next issue was Gons on the cover, and that's when he had the interview inside. And so when I opened up the interview with Gons, he's skating EMB, he's doing nose picks on the ledge, he's doing the Gons gap, and I was like, this is skateboarding.
There you go.
So that was my impression of skateboarding. So if anyone's talking about big gaps, like Mark Gonzalez doing the Gons gap, I'm supposed to do the Gons gap. So I just went out and tried to do everything I saw him do in that magazine. Skating the banks, going off tables, going over gaps.
Okay.
That was it.
You were just kept
So
you.
sick.
I just saw Gons on there, and I was like, oh, this is it. And I saw Nodis and all these other guys, and obviously Tommy G eventually, which I was super hyped on him because of his style. And, he looked like, he was like he looked more like me. You know what I mean? Like I was mixed, so I was half black, half white, but you know, same kind of skin tone, same kind of hair. So I was like, dude, these guys, you know, like the Ray Barbies, and I was like, these guys look like me. So those were people we looked up to. And needless to say, like I was saying before, like I had easy 10 Tommy G boards.
Right.
Like I just couldn't get enough of them.
That's so sick.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he was just my inspiration. So, but that was it. But you know, once I brought those magazines home, my parents were looking at this stuff like, what is this stuff? Like, look at these graphic skulls and death and snakes and what, you know. It's like they're like in their head. They're probably like, "When did we have that talk about going back to basketball?"
Right.
You know,
for sure.
Because this isn't really what you know. You gotta imagine two black parents. My stepdad was black, so two black parents not knowing anything about skateboarding. Like they're probably thinking, "Isn't this kind of like a white boy sport?" You know, like what is this? You know what I mean? Like all this punk rock and I'm listening to Suicidal Tendencies and. You know, my dad comes home and hears that, and this is the guy who's rocking like Matume and some OG, you know, George Benson. And he Suicidal Tendencies
Isley
pumping.
Brothers and shit.
There you go.
Yeah. He comes in, Suicidal Tendencies playing. He's like, no, we're taking this. You know, this is gone. He's like, guy's talking about killing himself, and we're done.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I could see how, because I mean, especially back then. What year was this? Was this late
86?
80s?
Going into 86,
Yeah.
all the late 80s period. I mean, you know, we're getting introduced to, you know, skate rock and, you know, dyeing your hair and doing crazy stuff and skating with other dudes who are punk rock and having your first, you know, exposure to like drinking and smoking and all that. And
I think that's where what scares parents.
Oh, 100%. Well, I mean, it's all real.
That's right.
Yeah.
But kids are going to do it regardless, right? They're going to figure it out. And
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
you figure out what works, what doesn't. It's like, you know, you start drinking, you're skating drunk. It's like, this doesn't really work too well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
Wait, it worked for some people. Not
Some
for-
people, but it didn't work
For
for
a
me.
while,
Me
yeah.
either. Me either.
Yeah, so I tried drinking, and then me and my best friend who got me into skateboarding, Chris Griffiths. Shout out to Chris because that dude definitely got me into that. We tried surfing and everything. I was like, nah, I'm gonna stick to skateboarding. But his next door neighbor, we were doing something. Someone went over the fence. We jumped over the fence to get it, and the dude had like all these trees of weed, like trees, not plants, huge. So we just broke off all the branches and just took them all. I stuffed.
That was dope.
Yeah,
So you took them all.
I took them all. I stuffed them under my shirt. He stuffed them under his hoodie. We ran to my garage, hit him in the back. We like did the research, hung them upside down in the garage,
There
let them
you
dry out.
Were they already like producing nugs and
dude,
stuff? And
trust me,
It was the right time.
okay,
we
perfect.
would have been in some major. I mean, everything that got produced from those trees,
Yeah.
we would be in some serious trouble.
Okay.
You know, it was
Okay,
a lot.
It was a lot.
Amazing.
I mean,
So-
that was like a year's worth.
What happened?
Dude, we just smoked as much as we could every day, all day. I literally lost my mind. I was just like to the point of hallucination on a daily basis.
But you're putting it in your garage. I mean, the things must had to have reeked.
no doubt.
Like your parents did. Or
I
was-
just hid it behind some stuff, and they didn't go in enough to notice. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love it.
And then
I love it.
that was like going into like 7th grade,
Right.
and then maybe even 8th. But at some point, I just couldn't. I couldn't function. Like it was just one dude who just did not work high.
Even alcohol, drugs, it affects everybody differently.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
some people like we go on tour, and people like Tyrone, you know, it hit something, and he'd be hyped.
Sure.
For me, I'd be like, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I was already kind of laid back, and like being on the board was my opportunity to like go, like push it. You know, like that's what I put my energy into. But we just made me lazy.
Right.
And like it was just like I was kind of out of it. And like I remember going to school and people like, oh, you know, you and the stoners, like they were like lumping me with the stoner group, and I was like, this isn't me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if I like this label, and I definitely am not motivated to do much of anything. So I just took the box, everything that was left over, gave it to my friend. I was like, dude, I'm done with this.
That's it.
He's like, oh, I'm done too. I don't even want this. And he came home with it. And, you know, a lot of our parents were smoking weed at the time. So he had brought it to his house. Like, I don't know what to do with this stuff. And I guess his mom came in his room and found the box. She's like, oh, my God, my prayers have been answered.
Oh my wow.
And she was like, where'd you get this stuff? He's like, I don't know. It just was someone must have left this in this box. She's like, well, I'm taking it.
Amazing.
Yeah, she was hyped.
Go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, so hey,
Dude,
you know,
the only person that really got screwed in this was the guy who was growing the plants.
oh, he
Yeah.
did, because we went back over there to go for a second round because we were just kids and being greedy and stupid. Like, hey, maybe we can share this with other dudes.
Oh my
And like
God.
all those plants were gone.
They were gone.
He's like, oh shit, my operation.
Yeah.
Never saw those plants again.
Yeah, never saw him again. But you know, like everybody has to find their way. Like that just wasn't for me. You know, like
Totally. And especially in skateboarding too. You know, you're out there. I mean, you're out there on the streets. You're meeting people. It's it's a thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, you discovered it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
You know,
It's definitely a part of the culture for sure.
for sure.
100%.
But it's a part of a lot of cultures.
No doubt.
That's
I think
for
it's a
sure.
part of the society, modern day society these
Exactly.
days.
Exactly.
If you
I mean,
kept smoking, I couldn't imagine you skating huge stuff still. Like, because when I see skaters skate things when they're high, huge, I don't understand how they do it. Tommy
Well-
Sandoval used to be gnarly like that.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how they did it, because you see the slams that, where guys are getting clotheslined or getting, tripping on some. That would have been me 100%.
Tripping it.
Yeah.
Going up the stairs.
It wouldn't have been good.
Fuck.
It would not have been good. But, I mean, just.
Some people just zone in.
And it's
Yeah.
and it's interesting to hear the perception of what kids think about you. Like, you're talking about, like, my height, like when I was coming up, I was kind of self-conscious, like, oh, I'm kind of a tall, someone's like, oh, you're too tall to be a skateboarder. And then when I saw people like Jason Lee, when Video Days came out, that was like my favorite video of all time. And like I saw Jason Lee, I was like, dude, that guy looks good on a skateboard.
But also there was a lot of, I mean,
a
like
lot of
Tony
them.
Hawk was tall.
Tony
a lot of
Hawk,
people.
Ron Whaley,
Ron
Rick
Whaley.
Howard.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many that.
I think it just later on you start meeting these people. I was like, oh, there
Right.
are, because one of my first introduction was like, you're watching the Bones Brigade, you're seeing Steve Caballero and Lance and all those guys are not really that tall.
Yeah.
you know?
Sure.
Lance looked tall in the videos, but then when I met him, I was like, wait a minute.
You also had good posture.
Yeah, he seemed a lot taller, but so it was like a mental thing, like, oh, you can't be that tall, but later you kind of figure out that, oh, it's actually okay, like you can actually use that to your advantage to pop up and do bigger stuff.
Yeah, big time.
And but I remember we were at a schoolyard filming. This 8 stair was up in like inland North County, San Diego, and these kids were like, yo, man, we heard Kanten Russell was here earlier or something. And I was right on the stairs, we were like laughing. So we just played it off. And I was like, oh, yeah, what did he look like? He's like, well, someone was like, oh, doesn't he kind of look like him? And they pointed at me like, nah, Ken's way taller. He's like 6'5", 6'6". Like he was breaking down this description. I was like, man, people think I'm that tall.
You're
That's
tall.
crazy. You know what I mean?
I mean, because footage, you look tall.
You did look
Yeah.
tall.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I think, if I'm skating next to like Mayhew,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
For
then
sure.
it looks bigger, So
Were
or
you-
Brandon.
Yeah.
I was
Because
gonna say it'd be,
yeah, skating a ledge and
Yeah.
it
Posture,
just,
bro. The posture.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I think we were talking the other night, and I was like, he's probably like 6'3", 6'4". I think
Yeah.
he randomly said that. Yeah,
That's right,
yeah,
yeah.
Crazy.
He's like 6'7", though.
Larger than life.
in skate world.
We'll run with it.
Yeah, skate world, you're 6'7".
Add a couple
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah, I had a couple.
Yeah.
But that was, I think, one of the things that like was alluring to me about you was your height, and you were jumping down crazy stuff and looking good doing it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was like I was saying earlier, like in the 90s, coming out of the 80s, 90s, jump ramps were going away because we were jump ramping, doing all that stuff. And I would say by the time 90 came around, street contests, maybe into 91, street contests started happening. We would just go to local contests and skate jams or whatever. It was all about skate rock and, everyone just having a big jam. And I think like we would start to see different people and start learning, different neighborhoods and cultures and people coming together. But it was all about like landing everything clean, like not like hand dragging and being sloppy. And so like I kind of maybe over consciously, like mentally, like, the way I would land, I would like never try to go too far, too low, because I'd be afraid like I would just like slide out or something. So like if you watch my footage, some people are like, oh, how do you do those like stiffer landings? I was like, dude, I would go about halfway down. I didn't want to go too low because I didn't want to like hand drag and like be sloppy landing. So like it was in my head, land everything super clean. So like that was why.
Even when you're jumping down something, you're
Yes.
like you would land and then almost brace yourself.
Yeah, I would make sure I didn't go too low because I didn't want to look too sloppy. Now someone like a Reynolds and
I would-
Penny, they have perfect landings.
Yeah.
Reynolds' ass almost hits the ground sometimes.
I don't know how he does it, but
But the way his legs move, do that,
Yeah.
it's you're like, okay, that looks all right.
It's-
You're
sure.
good.
Yeah.
But
And
you're right.
Your body's meant to do that. Mine can't do that.
No.
Yeah, and I don't know.
neither.
And maybe nowadays with people doing training and stretching and other stuff, maybe that would have been better for me. But I never had any issues. No joint problems, no knee problems. It just worked
that's
out
good.
where, I mean, I'd be sore. I would definitely, my thighs and everything would be burning.
Sure.
But I just kind of took it like, a certain way, and I was like, I knew I could pick myself back up, and I was good.
I mean, you're right, man. Back then, 90s style.
Yeah.
It was damn near
he-
almost everything.
When
It
you
was the skill, but the style
Right.
had to be there.
When you would jump down stuff, it didn't look like you were jumping down a 20 stair.
Right.
It looked like you were jumping down like a 6 stair or something, but the way you landed, I mean.
Yeah,
the way
no,
you impacted.
I know. I think me and even Brandon, we kind of had similar probably landings, and he always told me, he's like, yo, I got my big skating from you and my technical from Smolik. And I mean, he was just a little dude who just was kind of hanging around, just absorbing everything like a sponge. He would stay at my house, and I think I convinced his mom that it was safe enough for him to come over there because he was so young. And my parents definitely like looked out for him, and but I would just always share things with him, because like by the time I saw him, I was like 18, 19, and
But wait a minute, you were almost like you were sponsored and all the stuff.
yeah,
by 18 or 19.
definitely skipping ahead. Yeah, I was sponsored, but I'm just saying like when he came around, I was about that age.
Okay.
And I was trying to like mentor him, and it's like don't get wrapped up in all the drugs, and at that time drugs were like much crazier than like weed, right? It
big
was
time.
like, I mean, people were doing coke,
Sure.
So it's like, don't do the crazy drugs. Don't get caught up with the girls. I'm like rifling all the things I did, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
don't do all these things that I did.
Well,
you
listen,
know?
you're speaking from experience.
I tried. And then later on, I would find out he was doing all the same stuff. And I was like, dude, what happened? I was like, you just don't listen, dude. And he was like, how do you know? How do you know I didn't go home and write down everything you told me? I was like, did you do that? He's like, yeah, I did. I would tell him all these things, and he would go home and just write it down.
No way.
Yeah, that's what
He
he told
says,
me.
I got to do this. I got to do this.
Yeah, but he didn't listen to any of that, But
When you were 18 or 19, were you writing for Sims at this point in time, or was this going into like Planet Earth or?
So I graduated in 91. I was
Okay.
like 17, and then later that year I was 18. And yeah, I was. I think the first boards I got was from BBC, Better Board Company. It was like Life's a Beach and all that.
Jeff Phillips.
Yes, yeah, exactly. There's like Reese Simpson and Aaron Astorga and all kinds of people are on there. So it was like Life's a Beach was killing it, with those berets and skulls and all that stuff. And they did a board brand, and I was like, oh, I know Life's a Beach. We'll ride for the boards.
Oh wow.
Mouse was the team manager. Jamie Mossberg, the guy who filmed The End.
Okay.
So he was a dude who was like taking us on trips and tours and stuff. And so that was like my first ad was with BBC.
Okay.
And it was me and Andy Stone. It was both of our first ads.
Really?
And it was funny because it was kind of ahead of his time. It was like black or white, it doesn't matter, or something like that. It was like a race thing. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool, whatever, But
Wow.
we didn't think about it. But now looking back at it, I was like, wow, that was kind of ahead of his time even talking about that. But yeah, Andy Stone, East Coast, I knew about him because I think I met Dave Schlossbach around the time Shaka Me Not was being filmed.
Gotcha.
So it's probably just a little bit before that. And we would always have this jump ramp at this rec center, at OB Rec Center. And one day he showed up with Matt Hensley and Brendan Schaffel. And those guys were doing stuff we'd never even seen, like Ollie melon grabs in the streets and all kinds of technical tricks and the no complies and the different things on the bank. So the footage in Shackle Me Not of them skating at that spot and the jump ramp where he was doing like the varial and kickflip melon to fakie. I think it had STV on it or something. And so if you ever go back and watch Shackle Me Not, we were there.
Okay.
And they were sessioning that, and we were just like, oh, this is sick. And then we were doing stuff, and Schlossbach, who was filming, I was like, oh, you guys are pretty good. Like, we should hook up, because he lived in OB.
Ah.
So then we just kind of hooked up after that and started, barging a few sessions, and then over time just got more and more into it. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
And what was the ad with you and Andy? What was it two of you guys skating,
Yeah.
or what was it? What were you
Yeah.
guys doing?
I think he was doing a kickflip.
He's like kickflip on a parking block.
There's an encyclopedia right there.
Hey Raj,
Raj, man.
when did you get sponsored, Raj?
Raj killing it. Yeah, it was. It was a
So it was a
kickflip
kickflip?
over. I knew it was a kickflip, but thank you. It was a kickflip over a parking block.
Wait, just over a parking block? Like
I think so.
Okay. What were you doing?
That's still rad though.
Bro.
Well, I mean, yeah, he was a technician, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Eddie Stone was tech.
Yeah.
And there's no way to capture how good he was. You know, it was just like a random photo. I think I was doing something on a handrail,
Okay.
like, I don't know, like a front side big spin to board slide or something, but it was a short rail.
Oh wow.
And this was in what year?
I think it goes on
90.
a 4-star.
Yeah, it was like a 4
4-stair
or
rail.
5 stair. Yeah, it was
Okay.
a really short rail. It was probably like a 90,
90.
91 or no, it had to be 91 because I'd already had my first picture in the magazine. So my first picture in Thrasher Magazine was in 91, I think February, and I opened it up and there's a double page spread of me awing over a fire hydrant, and you can kind of see sort of a scratched up BBC board logo really faint because it's black and white. And it was just part of an article, and I was like, whoa. I was shooting with this guy, Joel Cherry, who was like freelance for Thrasher, and I was blown away. And then I looked into the next month issue, and it turned into a Thrasher t-shirt.
Amazing.
So I was like, this isn't real.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I mean?
amazing.
Like, this doesn't happen.
Do you have
know?
one still?
Somewhere. I was trying to find it to bring it up. I don't know where it is. I was like, Mom, do you have it? Like, I would give everything to her because I didn't trust myself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's somewhere. But
So you collect a lot of your stuff.
I tried. I really don't have a lot of it, but whatever I have, you know,
Do you have any
I have.
old BBC boards?
I don't.
No.
No.
What did you think of the slick bottoms when they first came out? Because they were like one of the first brands to actually use.
We
a
were
slick
hyped
bottom.
on them. Yeah, we were stoked. Like, think about all the curb skating we did back then. You don't have to have rails. You know, you're sliding. It was pretty sick.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I think I had like that generic swap meet board and probably some of those BBC boards. I had some of those. And when I moved out for the first time, when I was, 18, I came back later just for a minute because the place I was staying at was getting redone, or they had to move or something. And I came back, and my mom was having a garage sale, and all those boards were out on the street or on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
She's old school, right? She's like, well, you've been gone for a year and a half or so.
I mean,
I was just selling this stuff, and so I was like, what happened to my first boards? And she's like, oh, I sold them for 50 cents, and
Oh my! Did you buy the rest of the stuff back off her? No.
I don't think there was much left. I think she just sold the whole lot for probably $1. And then I remember I had this box of comic books. It was like the first 16 G.I. Joe comic
are
books.
you serious?
Wow.
And I was like, Mom, please tell me you didn't. And she's like, oh, yeah, I got like $1 for it.
Harsh.
2022, we're looking at like
Can you imagine
70
how
grand.
much that might have been?
Oh my
Man,
gosh!
first G.I. Joe.
First G.I. Joes.
Goodness.
And they were in the plastic.
Oh.
Still.
Yeah.
God.
You weren't opening up.
I mean, I checked it out,
Okay,
but I was
okay. You
being
put it back
careful with
in
them.
with
I mean,
the-
they might not have been mint, but
Okay.
they were probably
you had
like
them in
good.
sleeves with the backings and all
Right.
that. That's
I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was good to probably get some money,
Jeez.
Yeah, so if to this day that hurts. I was
Yeah.
like, man, the boards, oh well. The G.I. Joe comics, yeah, that hurt.
That's well, one of them's monetary, the other one's like sentimental.
Right.
Right. It's like how
I was like, well, the board thing, it is what it is. Yeah.
How long did BBC go for?
I don't know. I think I was on there for maybe a little over a year.
Okay.
It was interesting because you mentioned the other day how, like, that era of, like, 92, 93, there was so much that
Went
happened.
so fast.
So, like, in my mind, it probably felt like 3 years, but it really was probably like a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that.
It gets
Gotcha.
blurry when you start to get back that far.
It
You're
started to
like,
get blurry
it does.
because then you're thinking about, like, the 8th Street videos and, like, the video days.
Yep.
And so, like, I remember it was me and OJ were on BBC Oscar Jordan.
Oh yeah.
So we grew up together. He was the young kid who came from the hood, and he moved to Point Loma, which is right over the hill of Ocean Beach. Kind of a nice neighborhood, actually. He lived with his grandma. And he had heard about me skating over the hill because he skated with a lot of good skaters in Southeast San Diego, like Keon Kim and Renee Matheson. And those dudes were just killing it out there. And, like, I didn't make it out that far because we didn't have a car to go there. And I was like, yo, you should come roll over, because I went over to where he was, and he's like, yeah, you should come over to where I live and we should skate sometime. He's like, oh, no, dude, I'm not allowed to go over there. I was like, why? He's like, yeah, my grandma's really worried about just too many white people. I've never been to the beach. Like, it's just dangerous. I might get killed. Like, I mean, he just, old school black grandma was like, look, it's not safe there. It's like, it was by the beach. It was like an old kind of majority, predominantly white biker town, and so he was like, no, I'm scared.
Oh wow.
And I was like, you're good, dude. You're with me. I'm not gonna. So like he came over, he came to my house, met my parents, a black family, and he had been in a broken home at the time. So he was like, yo, like I've never seen like a family unit like this. Like your parents care about you.
Amazing.
And then I went into my room and he's kind of like looking at them, looking at me. And he was like, what happened? I was like, dude, I promise you I'm not adopted. I'm mixed. Like that's my stepdad, but like I promise, like, because all my family is like, when I was growing up, they're all pretty much black. And like people look at me like, yo, what happened? Like, I was like, well, my real father is white,
Gotcha.
like, but we just didn't see each other since they split up when I was 3. First time I saw him after that was when I was probably like 18 or 19.
Oh, wow.
And then from there all the way until like literally just maybe a couple of years ago, like 30 years after that.
No way.
Yeah, it's just, there was just, he had moved on, remarried.
Okay. There's
and
separation.
Separation was
wow.
difficult. We didn't live anywhere close to each other. First time I went back to Lincoln, Nebraska for some kind of a skate demo, my mom was like, "Oh, you're gonna see your dad?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Kirk." And I was like, "Oh, I forgot." Like I didn't even.
It wasn't even like a part
didn't
of.
dawn on you.
Okay.
Didn't even think about it because I'd already had
a
a
father.
mom and a dad, and he's the one who was raising me, and I didn't even think about it. So I did. I connected with him, met him, and my half sister, and
That must have been a trip.
It was a trip,
For
yeah,
sure.
and it was a trip for them because
I'm
like,
sure.
who is this guy coming in here? And I was all grown up and a skateboarder, mind
Yeah,
you,
pro skater.
Yeah, not the greatest. I was like, he was even like, "Oh, you should go back to college," and I'm like, "Wait a minute," you know what I mean? Like,
Wait,
you give me a
who are you
lecture.
talking
Yeah, what is your?
So I mean,
You just
and
came to say what's up.
yeah.
I'm just saying, hey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't that I wasn't like into school when I was there. Like, that was the thing. Is like, do good in school, you can keep skating. I actually, when I was graduating, I applied to college just because actually our school made us apply to college. I got accepted to UCSD, which I think there's another pro skateboarder who graduated from there, and I can't. Maybe,
Walker Ryan did.
It might, yeah, Walker.
Walker
Yeah,
did, yeah.
he graduated from there.
Okay.
I kind of was a little jealous of that, actually. I was like, oh, man, what if I had stayed and done that? Because at the time, I was like, there's no way. I can't
Balance.
be pro and be in school. There's just no way. Because I was barely even at school as a senior in high school. I was already traveling, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I was like, there's no way I could do that. So, yeah, I got accepted there, didn't go. And my mom was a really good runner. Like I said, all my family's like really into sports. So she was like a super good runner in high school, had records. My uncle was like, all-star football player, had all these records. And she was just like, you know what? School is going to be there. Just, follow your dreams. If the skateboarding thing doesn't work out, then go back to school.
I love the support.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
just go for it while you have this moment. Because I was like, well, maybe in a year I could make it happen. Maybe I should go for it. And so I did. And she was talking about how she was a runner, and she was like, yeah, I was going to the trials for the Olympics. I was like qualifying, and I blew my knee out. Back then ACLs are like devastating.
Sure.
And she was told not to run or she might ruin her knee. And she's like, I regret that. I should have just
She could have
got the surgery, kept going, made it happen, because I can't go back.
And some doctors, they'll tell you, oh, you'll never skate again, or this, or
Right.
it's like that's the horrible bedside manner.
Yeah.
Let's come on.
You can't tell the future sometimes, my guy.
For sure.
So I mean,
Did
technology
you
is
end up
better
going
now.
back to school?
Eventually.
You did. Okay.
Yeah, after I started transitioning into skate park design.
Graphic
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And so, she gave me this pep talk. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And, and my dad said the same thing. If you're going to do it, go all in, try to make it happen. And then recently, I was on the phone with Neftali Williams.
Oh yeah.
And he was interviewing people about their backgrounds and their stories. Like, oh, my parents are right here. Like, this is kind of cool for them to listen in. And so I was telling him this story. And my mom was like, wait, hold up. Wait, what? That didn't happen that way. We told you need to get your ass in school. I was like, wait, what? No, there's no way. I was like, I've remembered this story perfectly for all these years. She's like, I'm pretty sure we told you should probably go to school. I was like, there's no way that happened. Yeah.
Wow.
Would you have listened to them?
No.
Okay.
You were already determined.
Well,
So-
you went all in. You went all in.
So two things either happened. Either I heard what I wanted to hear,
Sure.
and it was like this inspirational like movie scene, or I think she just probably forgot, because retrospect, she's probably thinking like, oh, I should have said go to school, but I'm positive there's no way I would have made that up.
Right.
But it's pretty funny that she said that. I was like, wait, what? Like,
You're like, Neftali, hold on. No.
yeah, and he was laughing, and he was like, this is awesome. Yeah. I was like, run with the original story.
Yeah. Let's run.
Nefertali would be a good to have on the show. as
He's
well.
great. He's great. He works
sure.
at is he still USC?
USC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a doctor now. Doctor.
Doctor.
Wow.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
running some skate programs down there at USC too.
Yep.
Yep.
Pretty amazing.
Yep.
So what happens after that? I mean, you then went to like chapter 7 because we were talking about this before the show
So-
when Steve Sias was on.
Yep. So what
He had
happened
mentioned
is 90, 91, BBC closed the doors. Jamie
Done.
Mossberg was like, hey, we showed up one day and the doors were locked. And that's just what happened a lot
Oh,
in the
damn.
late
Wow.
80s, you know?
Yeah.
Like things were just mismanagement. People were probably partying too much. And trust me, I would go to Mouse's house and there'd be like pro surfers there from the Life's a Beach surf division.
Oh, okay.
And there was just money flowing and just parties. And
They were
who kno-
killing it with clothing.
yeah. Who knows what happened?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably just somebody mismanaged the money. I don't know what happened. So that closed out. I don't know who got me on Sims, but I did get on Sims next. I
Okay.
think it might have been Frank Harada. And I don't know how I ran into Frank or how I met him, but I did end up skating with him a lot. I would stay at his house. And I remember this was probably late 90, early 91, because I was still in high school, because I would go to Frank's house on the weekends. And when I was getting ready for school in the mornings, I'd always turn on the TV and see Frank on TV on a commercial for like Golden Grams or something.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And I was just like, and I would go to his house like, yo, Frank, that's crazy. Every time I'm like getting ready for school, I see you on TV in this commercial. I was like, how does that work? I was just interested, you know? I was like, he's like, yeah, every time that commercial airs, I get a check. I get paid for it. And I was like, dude, I see that commercial a lot. And he's like, hey, thanks for reminding me. I need to go check. And he came back. He's like, yep, got another check.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Chet
was,
Thomas
it-
with Cheerios.
yeah, and Chet too.
with
Yeah.
Cheerios.
So it's
rad.
pretty funny. I was like, dude, that's pretty sick. You know, he's like, yeah, I was able to do this and get a car, and you know, so.
Dang.
And then they were doing stuff with Hook because
Yeah,
he
the
was
movie Hook,
because
yeah.
he just
I
came
remember
off of
that.
Powell, right? He was on Powell,
I remember
and then
that
from
Hook
Powell
stuff.
he went to Sims.
Weren't they actually in the movie as skateboarders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Rufio.
Yeah,
Then Rufio
his
skated.
name?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Rufio.
These guys don't forget anything. I think you guys should also do a side one about like movies and stuff.
Oh
and
my
just,
God.
like 80s movies.
We're
90s
gonna start with
movies.
the
Oh,
Golden
that's good.
Grams.
Yeah.
What was it? The Cookie Crisp? What was it?
Golden Grams,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Love
just
those.
like, and I wish my memory's not the greatest, but I remember seeing it, but I just don't remember what he was saying. But it was awesome.
Man.
Yeah, it was.
And then
was
you're going
super
over to
sick.
his house to sit,
Yeah.
and you're like, dude, I'm
I was like, dude, it probably even at his house, I was seeing the commercial.
amazing.
They were just
There you are.
running that thing, man. Wow. And so he would take me up because Sims was owned by NHS at the time.
Yes.
And so we would go up north and we skate with Ron Whaley and Israel Forbes and I think God, who'd you have on the show? Andy Roy was
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was on. We've talked offline about this too, but yeah, he was on, and so it was a different culture for me because it was like Santa Cruz, like NHS, and you're up there, and they were taking us to spots. And Ron Whaley actually hit me up recently on Insta, was talking about that, like, yo, you came up here and all like this crazy double set in the front of Santa Cruz High School, and we have never seen anything like that before, and nothing like that ever since, or something, you know.
Wow.
But like, you know, I was just like, I just wanted to like just go at it everywhere we went.
I
And
love that.
he remembered that story, and I was like, dude, I can't remember that. That's sick. But yeah, it was cool to meet all those guys up in NorCal, and you start to see the differences NorCal.
I was gonna say
SoCal.
it's such a
for sure.
different
It's different. Yeah.
skaters and different scene up there from,
Yeah.
SD.
Well, because I feel like up there it was just a little bit more core and a little bit more about the skate culture.
Mm-hmm.
And SoCal was like more competitive, you know. I mean, even in LA, you know, LA, San Diego, it was just different. Like there's so many more people kind of like trying to get a spot or trying to show that they belonged on a team or whatever, and I think it was just
Right.
different.
Didn't
Sure.
it seem? I mean, it seemed like to me back in the day, San Diego was more skate heavy than LA was. I felt like
At
it.
that time.
Yeah.
And then it kind of shifted up to LA.
Yeah.
That's because the magazine was down there, though.
Oh, that's right. At
Yeah,
Transworld.
very
yeah.
very convenient for the magazines for sure.
That was
and
definitely
the,
helpful.
and a lot of businesses were down there too.
Yeah, and LA was killing it. It's just, yeah, I mean, the photographers probably didn't even want to camp out up there until you start having LA photographers. You know?
Yeah.
Then it all changed. But I remember when I was still on BBC, maybe getting onto Sims, Jed Walters was skating a lot with us. He came out from like
Wow.
South Dakota or somewhere.
There's another tall guy.
Yeah, exactly. We were flowing him stuff. So, but then he moved to LA and he was skating with Guy and
Yes.
Shiloh.
Yeah, that's when shit changed.
Yep, and then so I went up there and hung out with those guys, and Guy was like grilling me. He's like, yo, what was up with Jed? Like, what was he like? Like, was he really on BBC? And I felt like he was trying to just kind of figure out, like, what was his
they were
backstory.
recruiting him.
Yeah, they were recruiting
right,
him, and I was
right.
like, in my head, I'm like, I want to fuck it up for Jed, you know? Like, I was like, we were just flowing him, you know?
Oh,
like-
really?
And it was kind of true. Like, we didn't, nothing really came out. Nothing was official with him, and I kind of knew where it was going. I was like, nah, he's good, dude. Like, nothing's going to come out of the closet to taint him if he gets on World, you know?
Oh, I got you.
And so we skated with him and Shiloh, because I mean, Jed was coming back from LA and telling us like, oh, we didn't even know about Guy. He's like, oh, this guy Mariano, he's just killing it. This little kid, just, you know, he would murder all you guys on his sixth stair. You know what I mean? I was like, why am I in competition with this kid all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Like,
But that's
and-
how it was, though. That's definitely how it was.
Guy's still killing it.
he's still killing it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite skateboarders, by the way.
Absolutely.
So we went up there, and Guy was there and Shiloh, and they were super cool. Francois, I don't know if you remember him much, yeah. And so they took us to all the spots. The video days had just dropped, and Guy took us to all the spots that were in the video, and did every trick that he did in that video first try at every spot he took us to.
What?
rad.
He did. He basically recreated his
For
video
you.
part for you.
He really did. I mean, even like I remember there was like that double set because we were skating all around Wilshire.
Yeah.
So it was a bust everywhere. So we only had like 1 or 2 tries at everything we went to. I remember I think he did like a tail slide over that ledge over like a long double set and popped out or something. Or maybe it was a lip slide, but it was a long
Oh,
tail
yeah.
slide.
Yeah.
And he just casually did that first try.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. And like all these spots, I was like, dude, he's literally just showing us the spots, but recreating everything he did at those spots. And that's when I was like, this dude's different.
Yeah.
I was
For
like, this
sure.
guy is on a whole nother level.
No doubt.
Wow.
That's right. You got to
dude.
experience that.
Yeah, it was an
That's so
experience,
cool.
all right. It definitely humbled us back down. We're, it's like, this guy's for real, you know.
And Shiloh at that time.
Shiloh was killing it, too.
Straight up.
And then I
true.
remember we were going by a skate park because I think we were there. We stayed overnight. The next day we went by a skate park and there was a vert ramp. I mean, it wasn't like huge vert ramp. It's probably like maybe 9.5 feet tall, maybe 10. I don't know. Probably at least 9 for sure.
Okay.
And I remember a guy just jumped out, started like pumping on the vert ramp and started casually murdering the vert ramp,
Yeah.
like doing airs. And I was like, dude, these guys are real, you know,
They got it all.
because you saw the footage in video days like Jay Lee and Mark Gonzalez skating the ramps and stuff, and Guy was just like, he was all terrain, like, and people don't think about that, like even years later when I got on Planet Earth and I remember skating with Kenny Anderson and him casually doing backside lip slides all the way across vert ramps, like no big deal.
Eric Costin skates
Yeah.
vert. Like, yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing some video footage of like from my buddy. He had some contest footage from like 85, 86, and fucking Guy was skating a vert contest, like killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like doing caballeros. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, he's always been killing it.
Yeah.
Always
Oh.
been killing it. Yeah, so
ATV.
like 91, I was on Sims and we were entering some of those street contests, and Guy and Rudy and Rick Johnson, all those guys were skating those same contests, and they would always get first, second, third. It was usually like Guy, Rudy, and like Gabriel,
Gabriel.
Rodriguez,
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
in peace. They were always sweeping, and like that was just, I remember because when I was digging all this stuff up, thinking about for this show, like thinking about like, trying to remember some of the days and those contests when I was doing the AM contest, and I was pulling all these trophies I still had in this box. I was like, well, I didn't even know I had these. I was like fourth place, of course, because those were getting first, second, third. And I was trying to make sure I didn't have any 12th place trophies. Okay,
Throw that shit
Throw it in the
away.
trash. And I was even questioning fourth place. Like, fourth place, I don't know. Gary might not.
like,
He
but are
might
you-
say toss it. I don't know.
Even then, it's like fourth, but a cool experience, right?
It was
you
an
could
experience,
you could
yeah.
pull that out and remember
sure.
the
Yeah,
times
just
and
the
everything.
times,
but,
right? Yeah.
but they had those 1 through 3 slots covered.
They had it covered.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you might get a Costin in there, you might get a Rick Howard in there, maybe Mikey Carroll.
Okay. Yeah.
But or when it would get like regional or whatever. But like SoCal, those dudes were taking over.
Were you even a big contest guy, or were you?
I think when
more
I
in
was
the
on
streets?
Sims, there was conversations of you might be able to go pro at some point.
Oh, okay.
And then when Sims was starting to not work out the way they wanted it to, because they really wanted to focus on Santa Cruz and their other brands, they were starting to say, okay, we're going to put this dude on this team and this dude on this team. And they came to me like, I don't know if you really fit on Santa Cruz. In my head, I'm like, I don't know if I do either.
Okay.
And they're like, I think you're grooming yourself. You're going to be pro soon. You should really, think about something else. And so I think we were just kind of floating for a little bit. And then I was still with Schlossbach a lot. And I remember he was filming a lot of those videos, of those contests.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Turn the
remember
Other Cheek.
Turn the Other Cheek and Quiet Storm. Those videos were dropping and I had contest footage in there. Because at the time, we're like, well, I guess if you want to go pro, you still have to do contests because that's what all the Powell dudes were doing.
Sure.
Because Guy and those guys were still in Powell. And so, yeah, I remember like there was footage of one of those videos of me doing like a frontside feeble to fakie on a contest rail on my run. And I was like, how did I do that? Because like, I don't
remember doing it.
I remember doing it, but it was just like, it just was something that I just did because I thought I could do it somehow. And I did it in my run. And I don't know.
Amazing.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I had those tricks down at that time, but then later it was just kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna move on and do other stuff, and I don't care about these rail tricks anymore for some reason. I don't know.
Or front feebles, no one was really doing that.
They weren't. I don't know. But and I think that was it. No one really knew what was going on. And I was like, oh, people must not like this trick, so I literally just ditched it. Like I didn't think people like they didn't know, like
For 1991, it was a little bit ahead of its time.
it was ahead,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I mean, there was like 1 foot ollie 5.0s to 180s out and stuff. I remember Rick Howard doing those on lock. And that was like the trick that I was like, oh, sick. Like that dude just got top 3,
Yeah.
And there was a couple of ones where I got like second and first. I won a couple, and that's when I was like, okay, this is starting to become something. And then that's when, I don't know, I think I was in between of Sims and before I got on Chapter 7.
Okay.
And that's when the whole Plan B thing happened, where I was just getting flowed with Schlossbach was like really trying to push me in there. And he was getting me, boards behind the scenes, and I'd met Chernaski, and I think they just had this plan. I was like, oh, like we're doing this team, and I kind of knew what was happening, but I really wasn't into it because it was kind of like all the dudes came together to form this like super crazy special team,
Sure.
and like I did not feel like I fit there any more than I would like Santa Cruz or whatever, It was kind of like their thing, but Schloss had it in his head. He's like, nope, we're going out, we're filming with these guys, and then he would put my footage in the transfer tapes. And then when everyone else got wind of it, and like Danny and Colin were skating with me, but skeptical, like, what's going on here? What are you guys trying to do? We're spending all this time forming this team, and like, who is this guy? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so by the time Mike got wind of it, and Rick and everyone else, like, dude, we didn't like talk about this. Like, we're forming this team, and you're just gonna throw some random dude in here, and like, yeah, the footage is whatever, but like, it's just not our thing,
It's almost like it's almost like you were being forced upon them,
100%.
and that was then the bad taste in their mouth.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when that all went down, and I told Mike T and Schloss, I was like, dude, I'm not really feeling this whole thing. It feels forced. They're uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
And they had this big meeting about it, and I was like, what, dude? Like, I don't want this. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Having a Kanten.
Yeah, it was decided that I was not going to get on the team, and I was kind of like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, there was no way that was going to be a good mix.
I don't know.
So I think, it was awkward though, right? Because
Yeah.
I would see Mike and Rick, and there was all kinds of people who had been talked about. I mean, Gerard was, being thrown around. I was hearing, because I was in the mix, and I was hearing all these skaters, Henry and Gerard, and I was like, yeah, Gerard should be on before me. That was my thinking, But like, they had a very specific agenda who they wanted to be on that team and what they were going to do for questionable, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what's funny, man. Their talent could be there, but if you guys don't mix, it just doesn't work out, and that's all right.
And plus, it sucks to be forced upon.
Yeah.
Just having it's not a good feeling
No.
at all.
And
for
it was
sure.
a good learning lesson for me to remember, like, you got to be able to be a good fit on a team. And it doesn't matter if it was Plan B or a girl or anything, right?
Right.
It's just like you got to be able to jump in a van and click with dudes for a month tour without killing each other and it being good, Like, it's not always about the tricks,
Yeah,
It's also
okay.
like, it's just
So
the way
true.
that it was done too. If it was done in more of an organic way, like, hey, I'm
100%.
going to go skate with Rick. Come on out and go skate. Like, and
Yeah.
you guys, you naturally, organically form a bond.
You start having these conversations like, hey, what do you think?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's cool,
not
we
like,
could
what's he
probably-
doing on this transfer tape
That's
with
it.
all of
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
That's it.
Throw
What?
it in there. Throw it
Come
in
on.
there.
Yeah. I mean, I know, because I don't even know if Danny and those guys knew, because I had heard Danny talking about, like, me sending in a tape or something. I was like, dude, I wouldn't even know how to put together a sponsor me tape. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't really like that. I think it was just awkward for everybody, and I'm glad, things happen for a reason.
Sure.
It was good it happened that way, but it was awkward for, like, Mike and me and Rick for a while, because, even Duffy, he was like, oh, dude, I'm sorry, like, had nothing to do with any of us. It was just a weird thing. I was like, dude, I'm good with this. Trust me. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like, I think
right.
they were more kind of bummed than
They
I
were
was.
put in more of an
it's
awkward
a
They
position.
were put in an awkward
Yeah.
position. Yeah.
And was all that going on before or after they actually launched that first ad with everyone's name saying, like, these next 5 dudes will be
After, I think.
after?
Yeah, because the team was already announced.
So it's already like established.
It's already established. And I remember I was like even in Vegas with Ryan Fabry one time, and like Mike T was calling and telling us all the tricks Mikey had just done, and it was all going down.
Wow.
I mean,
Ryan Fabry was incredible, by the way.
Yeah,
bro.
And it's cool to see all that. But again, even Fabry was kind of like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, is this guy sent to try to outdo me on my own home turf? Like, you know what I mean? So it just wasn't a good thing. And it's a lesson learned of, just, about like fitting in. It's more than just like talent. You know what I mean? Like you really got to fit. And even now past that, everything I've ever done, it's like, hey, even on a design team, not everyone's going to be anything in life, right? It's like you got to have a good fit.
Yeah,
Totally.
And I'm glad that, over the years, I'd run into Mikey and, it'd be cool or whatever, and Danny. And I was working on a skate park some years back, and this kid had died. He was a skateboarder, and his favorite band was Girl. And we were talking about incorporating that into the design, and I hit up Rick, and he was like, do whatever you want, like send us stuff for the family.
amazing.
And so, like, as you grow older and mature, and I talked to Jacob Rosenberg after his episode, and we were talking about the whole thing because he was there for all of that, and it was the same thing. He's like, dude, that was their time, and your time just wasn't then. Your time came after that, but had that not happened, it probably wouldn't even motivated you to figure out how to kind of work your way, navigate the industry and teams, and what was a good fit and what wasn't. And many years later, even on Osiris, I had to be on the other side of that and be like deciding votes on people not getting on or not.
Tables have
Yeah,
turned.
totally.
And so I learned from that experience of like that was their team, not mine. Like they'd worked really hard to develop that whole thing. Like it wasn't my team, wasn't my time. But later on, I learned a lot from that whole experience of like, oh, now I know why that went down the way it did.
And it's interesting because like all this was happening, and then, but you weren't even feeling it either. So you must have, were you still constantly looking for, because obviously then, was this before Chapter 7 or after Chapter 7?
So
was this going into Planet Earth?
So what happened was Rodney was flowing me a bunch of boards after that for a while.
Okay.
Until Oscar Jordan was like, yo, Mike McGill's doing this company. He's got Matt Rodriguez on and these other guys. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. He's like, you should just jump over here. So I got on that team, and we did like a little promo video. And then at some point, me and OJ were like, we should do something that's more of what we like. I mean, Chapter 7 was like something that was Mike's company.
Sure.
So Mike, nice enough, gave us the opportunity to do Shaft.
Gotcha,
And then later
right.
with Steve Sides, it turned into Shaft Wood, but ours was just Shaft.
Okay.
And I think I always call him OJ, so Oscar Jordan for everyone out there, but I always call him OJ.
A lot of people call him OJ.
Yeah,
right?
don't get confused with anyone else.
It's not that OJ.
Yeah, it's not that OJ. It's our OJ. You know what I mean? Not that OJ.
OJ he's a SD legend, dude.
Yeah, sure.
He really is.
And he was in the mix with me too. Like, I mean, he was on those transfer tapes. I mean, he was going at stuff. He board sled that double kinked rail. That's what he was on that session with Danny when I think he when Duffy 50-50 to OJ was there.
Oh, wow.
So OJ was like board sliding through it, and Duffy was like there, and I was like, yo, I'm going to do my thing, So like,
so crazy.
So like he always was in the mix and just always right there. Just things never quite worked out to the fullest for him. But, OJ is a pretty aggressive dude. I mean, he was very outspoken. I mean, he did enough talking for the both of us everywhere we went, and that's just him. He's just no filters. He's gonna tell you how it is. I was
mouthpiece, bro.
He is,
It can ruin your whole shit.
I was a little bit more laid back and just like kind of willing to lay in the cut a little bit more. And he still is the same way. I mean, he's very outspoken and but he shared. My dad actually passed away recently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What I'm talking about that really was trying to get me into basketball and everything.
Yeah.
So he had just passed away just this last Easter, and we had this memorial for him. And OJ out of nowhere was like, dude, I'm going to be there. And so he showed up and, being typical himself, just, mixing up with everybody. And, but when it came time for people to share stories, I started to talk about the fact that he was there and what it meant for us to grow up as like kids of color, and like my dad trying to look out for us and like saying, look guys, like don't wild out in the streets. Don't get yourself into trouble where you're asking for trouble. Like the police will lock you up. They will shoot you. And this was back in the 90s. Fast forward to present day, like that message couldn't be more clear.
Sure.
But back then he knew we were out in the streets causing trouble, and he knew OJ had a mouth on him. And OJ had shared with my whole family about like, yo, that was the first black role model, father figure I ever had.
Wow.
He was the one who would sit me and Kay down in the bedroom and give us this lecture about like keeping ourselves out of trouble and don't give anyone a reason to get, locked up or shot out in the streets. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so he really kind of shared that, and that was cool because that was something I remembered about our relationship. And somehow, being in an area where there was a lot more white skaters and skaters of color, somehow we managed to like gather up all the other black skaters in the whole city. And I don't know how it happened, but just one by one we just all end up skating together a lot.
I love it.
So he was in the mix a lot, and we ended up kind of going more different ways, but he was always in the scene for sure and just always pushing it. And
I saw him down in Poots Park not too long, like
he's always there.
Yeah.
Rolling around?
If I go there and I post a clip and don't tell him about it, he'll get mad.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for hitting a homie up.
Right.
I mean, how it is.
Yeah.
Like if I drove by this house, like, a couple weeks from now, I was like, thanks for saying hi.
He can't just drove past.
Yeah, just drove right past, just ghosted
hi.
us.
You
Skated
better
the
come
curbs,
say
and he was.
Yeah, and I remember Andy Stone came out one time many years later. And now he's an engineer. He's a civil engineer.
Amazing.
So we ended up reconnecting many years later, and we ended up working for the same company for a minute. And someone was filming us talking about our background in skateboarding and how we are doing design stuff now. And out of nowhere, a mouse rolls up, who is our team manager with his kids. And then OJ rolled up. It was just so weird. Everyone rolled up. And we had this full little like reunion, like almost like a BBC reunion or something. You know what I mean? But yeah.
No
Well, we had a lot of ties together. Schlossbach was a tie for all of us. He got Andy Stone on 101.
I love it.
I mean, he really got us in a lot of places. And
what was the Andy Stone part? Falling down? Was that
Yeah.
him falling down?
Yeah.
Whew, so good.
That was
So-
a great video.
yeah,
my
he came
God.
out to SD and filmed a lot of those clips like in 2 weeks. Like he was just hungry. Like everyone was like, "Hey, this is my time."
Right.
Didn't he skate the
And-
Andrew Dice Clay?
Yeah. That was his
Oh, that's
second
right.
part, I think,
Yeah.
or maybe
Oh,
that was
yeah.
the first part. He had two parts.
That was in Falling Down, the Andrew Dice Clay thing, right?
Okay, there was two video
believe
parts. I'm
so.
not sure which
Yeah.
one was which. Yeah, I
That's
think-
the one that stands out to me.
I think that was the one.
That's
Yeah,
one
that was
that
his
stands out
first
to me.
one.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of days footage, and he was filming Gino a lot, and Dill, and
Dude,
so-
Dave was in the mix, bro.
He really was.
Really had. I mean, I went out with him a few times, and everybody that he just had the circle, and
He
really
did.
had the energy of like fucking the dudes at that time.
I
because,
knew-
because he would get in the trenches with you.
yeah,
know?
definitely.
Yeah.
And
I-
he would always. I'm sorry. to
No,
cut you off.
please, please.
He would always stay filming.
Yeah.
He did not turn that shit off. He
that's-
would be fucking.
Imagine
"All right,
the
go."
stuff that he has.
It's amazing.
I got some of that. That's why I
You
call
have it?
Jake.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but to his credit, you're right, John. He always told me, he's like, let the tape run.
Yep.
He's like, tape is cheap, but you can't go back and get that trick.
Man.
And I think that's why Rodney liked filming with him, because he would just let the tape run. He's like, dude, we can get more tape. Just let it run.
Yeah.
There's
I've
no like start
heard-
and stop and I missed a
Totally.
trick and
But just seeing like the whole how it just comes together, you know what I mean, and just seeing those moments where you're just like just chilling. And
You can
getting
watch
ready.
that tape back now and be in that session.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
With all- and
you're
hearing
getting,
all the
doing
little-
the shit in the background that you do before you go up
Yeah.
to the trick. It's just so much cool shit, dude. I
So
love
much.
that.
And I don't know if Little B, I always call him Little B still, Brandon. I don't know if he talked much about Schlossbach. He probably did. I haven't watched that Nine Club in a while, but he was the one who pushed a lot of us. And then at one point, after Shaft was not working out, well, actually, and there was a couple of things that happened that I probably should have thought twice about. But when we were going to start Shaft, I remember I had just turned pro for Chapter 7 Shaft. And I'd had the cover. Well, I had the cover of the Transworld magazine before I turned pro. It was like an amateur thing. I think I was on Chapter 7
Okay.
for that. So I was an amateur. Had the first
Back
cover.
180 down the. It was a sequence cover. Back
Yeah,
180
had-
down the stairs.
Yeah, I had the first cover of Transworld was that one. And I remember I was shooting there with Dave Swift for a checkout for Chapter 7.
Okay. This is 93.
93.
92, 93.
92, I think.
Well, the Transworld's 93, but it was probably months.
Right. So I did a double hard flip down this 5 stair. And in the sequence, back then they just didn't roll fast enough to even, it looked like just a hard flip.
Okay.
Double hard flip because for some reason I thought a hard flip wasn't good enough.
Two is better than one.
Yeah, 2 is better than 1 apparently. So landed on it, kind of cracked my tail. He's like, what else you got for me? And in my head I'm like, I'm always going to try to have a backup thing. So I went around the corner and we saw this 14 stair, and he's like, wow, that's huge. And so I ollied it, and he got the photos of it. And I was like, I want to try to backside 180. And he was kind of tripping. He was like, well, I haven't seen anything that big backside 180 before.
Yeah.
And so I did it. I landed it, but it was kind of sloppy because the board was broken. I probably can't even believe I actually did that on a broken board. But I was just so like, I got to show this guy that I can do this stuff because he may never come back. That was my thinking, like, oh, this guy's shooting from the magazine. I'm supposed to do everything I can right now. There might not be tomorrow.
Wait, real quick. Was there a filmer?
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes we're gonna go out now, and there's no filmer. We're doing something like this. We need a filmer.
But there were a lot of times where there was no filmer.
Right? Yeah.
And I remember someone filmed a double hard flip. They did film the backside 180 because there was some things that we would shoot sequence for. I was like, oh, we got the sequence. We don't need the footage.
Right.
Because I have dudes always hitting me up on Insta. Where's the footage? It's like, dude, there wasn't always a camera. Like in the early 90s, you know? Sometimes someone's shooting a photo, you just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I get the sequence, that's good enough.
And who shot the sequence?
Steve Sherman. Well, so Swift did shoot the sequence first.
Okay.
And then they went back to Transworld. It was black and white, and I guess they didn't like the way it looked. And they called me, and they're like, hey, if you want to go back and shoot this in color, we'll give you the cover. And I was like, are you serious? Like, that, it almost seemed too easy because for me, it was like not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for them, it was a big deal. And I was like, dude, just tell me the time. Like, I'll be there.
Well, you were the only one
So
jumping down
good.
14 stairs back then.
But was that the biggest one you've done? Like what?
Yeah.
At that time, that was the
But I
biggest.
knew I could do it.
Right.
I hadn't done anything that big before, backside 180, but I just knew I could do it. So I just did it because you're just running adrenaline. You're just a kid who's just trying to go all out.
Were you even jumping down big stuff before that? Was that like your thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you just kind of, well, yeah, I'll do this.
I don't know if you're just gonna
No, I
whiff
mean,
a back 180.
Yeah.
The confidence level was ready.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, it was like, I don't know if it was like me just trying to like sort of push it within our little group of friends. But I was always, I don't know if it was like a dare thing, but it's almost kind of like every time we go to a spot, I'd be like, hey, maybe we could do this. And then somebody like, no, that's crazy. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go do it. It's almost like every time they told me you couldn't do it, I would just go do it.
Yeah.
But was there anybody in your crew that was doing that kind of stuff?
OJ.
Also? Okay, he was.
OJ,
Okay.
and there was a couple other people who were doing some things, but not.
Because I feel like a lot of those guys were on the tech
yeah.
mission.
Yeah, OJ was definitely more not about going. I mean, he could go big, not quite that big, but he would hang like. First time we ever just went to a sports arena, the double set, that was just like us going there after school to hang out in that area because our high school is not far from there.
Gotcha.
So we were just there after school one day skating the forest there, and like we had the school backpack on the stairs. There's a whole nine, and like I was like, you know what? I think I could do this double set because at the time no one had done it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he was like, no, like it wasn't OJ. It was my friend Terry Washington. He was a comedy dude. He was hilarious. So I almost couldn't even take him seriously, you know? And he was like, no, you're not doing it. And I was like, dude, I think I could do it. He literally stood in the runway and was like, no.
Holding you back.
You're not going to do it.
Oh, like
and
he
I
was
like,
scared for you type shit?
Kind of, yeah. He
Okay.
was like, but he was so funny. Like, I didn't know if he was serious. He like, you've taken it too far, you know?
Yeah.
He, like,
Oh
You're getting
now
too crazy.
you're taking it too far. And he
Yeah.
would like totally go crazy with it. And I was like, dude, get out of the way, you know? And I did it. And then he was just like, you know, never cease to, you bastard, you know?
But you didn't
Never
film
cease to
it.
amaze me. You're just, no
Did
Just
filming.
all he did.
Didn't you just like
with
do
his
a line?
backpack on.
Yeah.
With his backpack on.
Yeah, there was no filmer, no nothing.
Just
Oh
after
my
school,
God.
hanging
Just
out.
after school activities, you know? Some people are watching the after school special on TV, and we were out Ollie and double sets.
There you go.
Wow.
But that was it. I think that's where that came from. By the time Silvergate rolled around, it's like, whatever, you know?
Yeah, I'm already
I mean,
jumping.
I'm already jumping
You were ready.
the Correa 10 or
And then the
double
fact
set.
that film, that Dave Swift
Yeah, he was there. I was like, look, I'm ready
from
to go.
Transworld's there.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Right.
And I remember warming up on the 5 stair. And it's funny how you think that somehow
3 times, 14, almost 3 times as big. Yeah.
I really actually convinced myself that I was like, just a little bit further, you know?
A little more hang time.
I remember going fast, and I was like, okay, there was a crack. It was like jumping into an alley. So the double hard flip was landing on the concrete, and there was like, then the concrete ended and it went to asphalt. So I was alling out to clear just the concrete to the asphalt.
Okay.
And so I was like backside 180 it a few times. I was like, I could do this. It's the same thing. And it's funny how many skaters after that I would run into who would have that same philosophy, like James Brockman and Dobstaff and all those kids. There was like this clique in East County, San Diego, and they would skate this little crappy skate park in Santee that was not that great.
Mm-hmm.
And they had these little skate park handrails that were not big. But for some reason, whenever they learned a trick on this small little rail, they're like 10s there, 12s there, easy.
Wow.
And I was like, how? Like, how do you go from doing a switch 50 on this small skate park rail to doing it down the point limit height 13?
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
And somehow they just like, if I can do it here, I
Yeah.
can do it there.
Wow.
I don't know how but it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Like they just like, look, if I can be on this comfortably, I'm just going to go a little bit more.
But by that point, was backside 180s your thing too? Because you were backside 180. I mean, you had a really
going with that
good
one.
one.
Yeah.
No, I think people, well, when that came out,
Right.
that was like, oh, this dude does big backside 180s. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should do more of those or, whatever.
Interesting.
Or what else can I
Right.
do it over?
Right.
So I think it wasn't like I was into that trick like a lot. It was just something I could do. But then when it got a lot of attention from the cover, I was like, oh, I guess that is a big deal.
Because backside 180s, it's an down stuff, gaps, and it's an interesting it's a hard trick.
Yeah.
Like I remember Jeremy Ray had a good back
Yeah.
180.
He
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Good back 180.
It's harder in front side 180.
Huh?
I
It's harder in front
That's
side.
right.
Yeah.
I started
that's
off
right.
doing a lot more frontside 180s. And I was like, well, let me try backside since everyone seems to think it's harder. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can get really comfortable with the way you really like point it out and you turn kind of late and you can kind of control it better. Frontside 180s, you can't really control the same. Like it's like you swing it around, but it's just a little different. And I remember in the 93, so after that cover came out later that year, I started shooting more and more photos with Steve Sherman for Transworld. I was like, oh, and Steve had all this stuff. He's like, dude, let's just do an interview with him. But he's like, yeah, but he's not even pro. So then it was like, okay, if you turn pro, we can run this pro interview. And so I turned pro for Chapter 7
Got you.
before we even did Shaft, just so we could run the interview.
Were you putting out
Wow.
boards at all at this point on Chapter 7 or Shaft?
I think they did a couple of boards. They did do a couple of boards for
Okay.
me on Chapter 7, and it was just to support. Basically, I was going faster than they were keeping up with it.
Interesting.
And so we did that, and I remember there was a triple set in San Diego, and I think Ollie did it, and then Danny did it in Questionable, and then I frontside 180'd it, but that was one where there was no filmer.
Right.
It was just like, it was a kick-out spot. So we had 3 tries, and we just shot the sequence. I was like, I'm good with just the sequence. Let's just keep
Is that
rolling.
funny?
Because the
Well,
only
that was a
oth-
lot of coverage back
Roll
then.
with it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you got in
yeah,
the magazine, that was huge.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like better than a filmer at that point.
Yeah.
It was more
To a
important
certain
for me.
degree.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, if I get the photo, I'm actually more hyped on that coming out in the magazine than I am the video clip at that
yeah.
time.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the only other dude who was really out there like filming and shooting photos at the same time was Dan Stuart. And because it wasn't normal for there always to be a filmer and a photographer at every session.
Sure.
And Stuart came around and he was like adamant about like, no, I'll film it and I'm gonna do everything myself. So that was the first time I'd ever seen that. And that's when I gotten like on Airwalk around that same time in the early 90s. And he would come up and shoot some photos. And his whole thing was, I knew what he was shooting. I mean, Chris Markovich was out there killing it for Airwalk ads and everything he was doing. I was like, this guy is the template.
Right.
Like, he's going fast. He's going crazy. Like, I was watching him and Jeremy Ray. Then Jamie Thomas is coming around a little bit. And we were all kind of pushing each other to try to go bigger and faster and farther. And so when I saw Dan Stuart, I knew what he has been shooting with Markovich. I was like, I got to do something.
yeah.
And Dan Stuart was kind of like, that was his preface, like, what do you have in mind? And I was like, well, I was trying to describe something. He's like, is it dangerous? Does it look like you might die?
We've
like-
heard that before.
I was like, yeah.
that's his
I was like,
MO.
yeah. So it just became the MO. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't even go shoot with him unless I had something that looked like
Big.
you might die.
Did you have a lot of people spot searching for you back then? Or was it all your, because
No. Well, I think in San Diego, there was so much, right? And like, it was before spots were getting like shut down.
yeah.
And so we would know people who would sometimes show us spots for sure. But a lot of times it's just us stumbling on things. I mean, because, Sports Arena wasn't a spot.
Yeah.
Silvergate wasn't a spot. And neither was Correa or Point Loma High. These were all places where we lived. So what happened was we were just getting coverage at those places. and then other people would come there and try to like do stuff on the same spots.
Sure.
Yeah.
So and that was also kind of a contention with even OJ's like, man, these guys coming in like skating our spots, and and I was like, hey, like that just you just gotta step up.
That's skateboarding.
That's skateboarding, yeah.
How? So after this, a pro spotlight must have come out, and then what happened with
So here's what happened. So
Planet Earth.
So before Shaft started, that interview came out, and it was the cover of like me, Mike Carroll, Hensley, Donger. We weren't skating.
It was like a black
Yeah,
cover
it was all
with the
black.
little...
It was the interview issue.
Yes.
So that was that. So I got a call from Tod Swank, and he was like, hey, I'm seeing all the stuff you're doing with Sherman, and he's doing a lot of stuff with our foundation guys. Like, you should skate for foundation.
Oh, no
and
way.
I was like, no, I'm just going to start a company with OJ.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Foundation, it's
Legit offer.
Yeah, that was
So
big
legit.
back then,
I
right?
didn't even.
we got Plan B, Foundation,
Didn't
but you
even-
opted for Shaft.
I didn't even. I know, and that's like we were just like it goes back to we just want to do our own thing.
But I love
I
it,
don't
but-
think I fit on foundation. That was my head. So
Right,
like
right.
I didn't even do like I'm gonna call you back. I was like, nope.
Yeah, you're already ready.
I was just no, I'm good.
Yeah, you knew.
We just knew we wanted to do, and we just wanted to do our own thing because at that time the '90s was like the wild wild west, and foundation wasn't as big as it got. Maybe a year or two after that, it was still kind of in his. I think
Like Richard
Frank
Mulder and Krieger went on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even think
Cocktails era.
I don't even think Mulder was on.
No.
Before.
I think it was
yeah.
before that. They were really in its infancy. I don't even know if Krieger was on. He might have just got on.
How long did Shaft last for?
Oh, it was short. And again, it goes back to like it seemed like it was probably like a year for us.
A year, yeah, okay.
And then what happened was OJ had a falling out with McGill, and he I think actually ended up doing something with Steve Size when he was on there talking about Entity for just a real quick, another short-lived, probably 1 year company.
Gotcha.
So he did something with Steve Size and turned pro for Entity Skateboards, and then later I think Steve Size came back around and worked with Mike and said, hey, I'll take this Shaft thing over and turn it into something with Rob G and all these dudes,
Right.
which was awesome.
Right.
And I have nothing but respect for Mike McGill. It was just us being young and dumb, and we didn't appreciate half the things he did for us at the time because we just expected everything, right? Like, oh, that's just what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so what happened is I left off of that, and then Dave Schlossbach always wanted to do his own company. So he wanted to do Voice Skateboards.
Voice
that's
Skateboards.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
So that was me and Smolik.
Yes.
And he was telling me I was still on Shaft.
Hey, did you guys in Mumford on Shaft?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So I guess on Shaft, so it was me, Peter McBride, Matt Mumford. I think Chad Barty might have been in the mix.
Oh wow,
It's a good squad.
a couple Australians in there.
Yeah,
Hey,
and I'm gonna.
Chad
I think
Barty?
Mike Rafter.
Oh,
was on at one
Really,
point.
Sacramento.
Seriously.
So it was kind of funny because there was like a Shaft promo we did, and it was me, and Mike Rafter and Jason Maxwell was on.
Wow.
He had just come out from the East Coast, and we hooked him up. And this guy Jason Carter, who was like legendary in SD, he had like Matt Hensley style and did Matt Hensley tricks. I mean, like his nickname was Spaghetti, but everyone I can't remember what they were saying or what his nickname was, like Mini Hensley. I don't know what they were trying, but he was a dude who could do like the back nose blunts across curbs and ledges, and he was doing like super big nollies over things and switch ollies way before its time.
Wow.
And I remember going on a road trip with me and OJ, Mumford, Barty, and Jason Carter. And we drove straight to EMB. And we got out there, we were skating, and the locals were just clowning Jason because he was just super Hesh, dude. Like Hesh before Hesh was actually okay.
Okay.
I think he was wearing like a death metal t-shirt, and he was just looking like a death metal kid. And they're like, dude, what is up with this dude? Like, and Mike York, I remember, was kind of clowning him and skating behind him and clowning him behind him and stuff. And I was like, oh, guys, he's legit, dude. Trust me.
Uh-huh.
And so then he kind of got skating, and I remember he did like a straight nollie up to 3. And
Oh,
that was,
wow.
And that was pretty much it.
That's
They were like-
gnarly back then.
Yeah, everybody was like, okay.
You
Like,
talking about Dill?
No, Jason Carter.
Okay, I'm tripping.
He's a kid from SD.
Yeah.
And I remember
3 that everybody does tricks down to
Yes.
start their line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did a straight nollie up the 3, and it was pretty much over.
Yeah.
And then he was doing like super big shifty switch ollies down the 7 like every try, and they're like, yeah. And he did like a frontside 180 nollie down it super big, and like, yeah, he's good.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes,
That's all it took.
Yeah.
we're
The
good.
ridiculing stopped.
Yeah, ridiculing stopped. Yeah,
Gotta prove yourself. Over
but you
Yeah.
do. But you do.
You did. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like you think about those sessions, and like 90s skateboarding was like the 90s NBA. You know, like how those players are always talking about, like, oh, you guys have it easy now. You know, you got everyone's shooting from the outside, no one's inside banging and getting tough. And
I was just
and-
watching an
great.
NBA thing the last night.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all about
Oakley, Barkley,
100%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tie-ins. I mean,
Yeah.
even though I'm not playing basketball anymore, every once in a while I'll get out there. I did actually go out a few weekends ago and ran a couple of games and just see if
Okay.
I could still do, which is kind of cool. But
Let's go after this. You know? Squad up.
I'm down.
Wait,
Do a 2-on-2.
Yeah.
when you went to EMB, did you try the Gons Gap?
I don't know if it was that session, but at some point I did. I mean, it wasn't something that was like monstrous to me, but it was hard to do tricks.
Yeah.
Like ollieing it was one thing. That was not too. I mean, it was like narrow runway and the push. So
but the angle too.
yeah, it was the angle. So
Yeah.
it made it awkward for tricks. Like you could ollie it and 180 it pretty easy for me anyway.
Yeah.
But like for anything else, it was like hard to get the right takeoff, and then really at the time we were trying to do real tricks. It was already like getting it to be a bus, so you probably had like a small window to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And then at some point I was like, dude, I'm just over this place, like for trying to run up and do this quick spot or whatever. But yeah, the Gons Gap was sick, and for me, even just ollieing it was going back to that first magazine I saw with Gons doing it, and then he later kick flipped it, which is sick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's not too many tricks that have been done down there.
No, it was a hard run up, hard landing. It's kind of like the Carlsbad High Gap. I never liked that place because it was an uphill landing.
Yeah.
So you would do a trick and land on it and stick because it's uphill.
Yeah.
So when I would see like footage of Jay Ray doing like the front 3 and he kind of reverted around, I'm sure it's because of that crazy landing was all wacky, and he just kind of kept going with it.
Wait, you never really did any tricks on that?
I skated a few times, but I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like I would land and I'd be like, dude, I'm like sticking every time.
Yeah.
Like this landing sucks.
But the gap was actually huge. It was not like, if you looked at it now, we've talked about it a few times. You looked at it now, you still like, wow, this is pretty gnarly.
It was big, and
was
it
big.
had the wall at the bottom, which I
Yeah.
think was more of a mind thing too. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Plus,
Um,
you're landing on top of like a block. Then you got to land. You roll for a second, then you fall down something else. you
Yeah.
know? So it's like,
Because it was an 11 stair, but like kind of extended.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think it was just intimidating because of the look of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, hats off to all those tricks Jeremy did down it, and Casper skated it like a warm up spot. I've been there with Casper, and he would tray flip it as a warm up. You know, I mean,
dude, shout out to Josh Wendell too. He frontside shoved it, bro. I was like,
Really?
tripping
yeah,
on
I remember
shit.
that. Yeah.
Frontside shove, bro.
Yeah.
That is the
Whoa.
most awkward
As fuck.
trick.
I don't
to do
remember ever
down
seeing that.
something.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
dude.
Yeah, that was a
Especially when
good
you skate
one.
for Think.
Oh my
Yeah, dude.
gosh.
And I remember filming when I was filming with Schlossbach and Mike T on a couple of sessions. They would always argue about the best angles. It was like, if you're doing fisheye, is it sicker, and how do you make it? They would argue like, I'm gonna make it look bigger. I'm gonna make it look bigger.
Yeah.
And so the argument was, certain spots you could film from the bottom and it would look amazing, but certain spots you want to film from the top and they're going away from you.
Yeah.
And like if you remember some of Jeremy's tricks, like the frontside half cab down Carlsbad High, it was from the top going away from you.
Right.
And I think it looks so much bigger that way. And I totally understood their argument about those angles.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're going that fast off something like that, it looks better from up top.
Right.
Because you see them fly off, like
Right.
just going mad fast.
And if you think about it, there's not too many ways to shoot that thing.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's like down, below, up top, left, right.
Or
what do we got?
Or later long lens, because
There
back
you
then
go,
it was like
right.
everything's fisheye.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Later long lens, like, oh, it does look big. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Like Little B switch hard flip, right? So
Ooh, so
yeah.
good.
yeah.
Yeah, man. What about the small one? Did you ever skate that?
Yeah, we skated a few times. It was like, I don't know. It's just some spots.
It's a
just like,
small one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's too small for me. No, I'm joking.
I can imagine that.
It was like it was like the tech Carlsbad
It was.
one. You know?
It just, no, it was a good size gap. It just, there are some spots you go to, it's like, I just don't feel it here. I went there like a few times, And and also there were so many tricks being done there. It was almost like played out, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you could do a trick here, but it's just so played out. Like, it was
That was
weird.
rad though. When you did see tricks being done on it, you were
Yeah.
like, dude, Chris Cole switch front heeled it, dude. This
100%.
Like, it was.
Yeah.
Then now everything's at the end of it. It was all done.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't see was like a switch big flip maybe or something.
That probably went
That
down
was before,
too.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
I want to get into the Planet Earth stuff, you
Yeah.
know, because I also we want to talk about the Osiris stuff. We touched on the Storm
overlaps it.
earlier, but we didn't get into like the shoes, the Defcon shoes, and royalty checks and all that stuff. We didn't get into that, but the Planet Earth stuff. How did that even come into play? Was that a Kenny Anderson thing, or was that a who?
Chris
was,
Miller thing,
It was Chris Miller.
which
Okay,
is crazy. Yeah. So,
even after you left the chapter.
well, that was Mike McGill.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Mike
yeah.
McGill.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of 80s legends floating around
Yeah.
there.
Trust me.
People I didn't even think I'd be even talking to, right? Like,
It's amazing.
wait, Mike McGill, and like, you know, he was
Chris
buddies with
Miller?
Steve Caballero, and he would go on
Oh,
trips
yeah.
with us. I'm like, what's
But-
going on here?
But wait, you were on Voice and then you went to Planet Earth.
Right.
Right.
So what
Yeah.
happened with Voice was it was a great idea. You know, I mean, it was me and okay, yeah, that's what happened. So it was me and Schlossbach first. He wanted to recruit some unknowns that he thought were gonna make it and build a team from scratch. He didn't want to go out and try to take people or whatever. He'd already tried that. I mean, his idea was, oh, I'm gonna start a company with like maybe Gino and Jason Dill and all these people I'm filming, but that got squashed by Rocco and whoever. You know,
They were killing it at the time.
yeah, and,
too,
and, and they were just like, hey, we just want to go with an established. I mean, Dave, bless his heart, was a great filmer, but I don't know if anyone trusted him to be a business guy. You know what I mean? And so we started Voice. It was with the same guy who did the original manufacturing for the H Street boards.
Oh,
And it was a
Taylor
it was-
Dykma?
No, it was a place up in Inland Empire. And his first name was George. I don't remember his last name, but I remember I went there and saw all the molds and the OG H Street boards and like Planet Earth boards and all kinds of stuff.
sick.
And apparently he was the original, like, kind of like, I guess, investor and board manufacturer for them. Somehow Dave had remembered him from back in those days, I think, when he did the Shackle Me Not stuff, that he hit him up and said, hey, would you be willing to start another board brand? And, you know, I'm going to build this team. And he just kind of convinced him to do it. So that's what we did. But I remember he was like, yo, I got this kid I want you to see. And he, you guys remember Mervin's, that department store?
Yeah.
Mervin's?
Oh yeah.
So we went to Claremont. He took me to Mervin's in Claremont. And there was this kid there just hyper as hell. I mean, hat backwards. He's wearing glasses, super, super baggy pants. And he was going Mach 2000 and did the longest slappy nose slide, K-grind, nose slide, K-grind hyper combo you can imagine. And he must have clicked in and out of that at least 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
And then as he rolled away, he pulled out a Mountain Dew, like probably 2 liter out of his pocket and started chugging it. And I was like, Dave, who the fuck is this kid? And he's like, oh, that's Peter Smolik.
Yeah. Right.
I was like, I'm not sure about this guy.
Wow, that's so
I
dumb.
was like, wait, the tricks, the 2 liter, I don't. And he was super hyper.
Okay.
And I was like, maybe it's the Mountain Dew.
For
let's
real. I don't know. Is that caffeine?
let's cut off the Mountain Dew first.
Okay.
Well, you used to look at the old videos. He always looks hyped in
Yeah.
all the videos.
And so like later I just learned that he's just naturally that was real.
yeah.
You know, and you know we did get him off the Mountain Dew a little bit, but yeah, Peter was he had a vision from day one. That dude had a lot of energy, and he just had a lot of stuff up here that he wanted to get out. And I think him and Dave were a perfect match because Dave had a lot of things and he had things. I mean, Dave Schlossbach was a dude who would go and search. He was actually a guy who would search for spots for sure.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
actually did show us a lot. He was a dude who'd roll around Compton on a moped with a full ski mask, gloves, and everything, so people couldn't tell he was white. I was like,
What? Just so he can look at spots?
yes.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like, I was like, what? He was like, because I didn't want any trouble. Like, if they saw a white boy rolling around in the moped, I just want to be incognito. I was like, incognito with a ski
I
mask
know.
and gloves.
Bro.
On a moped.
Yeah, so that
heading to the bank.
yeah. So this is who we're talking about here. You know,
Right,
it's like
right.
he's thinking like, yeah, I'm this guy. So I was like, So I was like, all right, Dave, like you've always had a good eye for talent. I'll trust you.
Okay.
You know? And so over time, just more time with him and him. I always try to share a lot with him about the industry. You just need to chill the hell out a little bit, you know?
Sure.
But he always had a lot of charisma. He always had a lot of energy. And then I remember we were like, well, who else should we add on? He's like, dude, I got this kid. He's in Claremont too. His name is Boots. I was like, Boots. And then we met him over at the Montgomery 6th area, and it was Little B. It was Brandon. They called him Boots.
Boots.
I don't know. Maybe Brandon could talk about it. I don't know where that came from, but he just was tiny. He was almost the size of his board, and it was like a scene out of a movie. Again, it was just like, all right, let's see what you got. It was like the Montgomery 6th area. He did every trick in the book first try.
And this is where we were talking about before that you kind of then were trying to like mentor him.
Right.
Later on.
Yeah. So when we connected with him, he spent a lot of time with Peter. He spent a lot of time with me. We tried to help groom him up. But, you know, I think everything we filmed on that little test session or like sponsor me session ended up being in a Transworld video. I don't know if you remember.
Was it the one with the rail in the middle of the stair? It's like a round rail.
Yep.
I know what you're talking about.
I think he did like switch frontside pop shove. He did switch flip.
Yeah.
I mean, he did everything first try.
Wow.
So after that, he got off his board. I was like, kind of like, well, I was like, yeah, you're on. And so Schlossbach basically was like, look, you know, do your homework, you know, learn about the history of everything and what came before you. And he really was pushing Tom Penny, like, look at Tom Penny footage. Like, that's how good you need to be right now.
Right.
So he just was convinced he had to be that good. And he was also convinced that everything that Tom Penny did was first try, which actually probably was.
Pretty close, yeah.
And so that's why whenever people saw Brandon, he always did everything in 3 tries. Or he would just stop. Like, I remember being on sessions with him. If he didn't make a trick in 3 tries, he was done.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, you're so close. It's like hitting your feet. And he was like, nah, just...
If it's not right away.
I'm blowing it. I'm supposed to be Tom Penny.
Wow.
I just remember seeing him in videos, and when he did a switch hard flip, I was like, this kid is doing switch hard flips down stuff.
And that was first try.
Yeah, like that was
After he hit a rock. Yeah.
Dude, that
But
footage is Smolik. Is that Smolik that flies down, what's it called? The Carlsbad Gap, hits a rock and flies off of it?
No, that was Zamet.
Zamet. Okay, I remember hearing his name in San Diego a bunch, but that was...
he flew. Yeah.
Do you guys remember that footage?
Hit a rock
I don't
and flew
remember
over the gap?
Yeah.
At the top, right, he's charging, hits a rock literally at the edge of the gap and flies down the whole
I've
thing.
never seen this.
Yeah, it was in Troubleshooters, maybe?
Probably, yeah, I think it might have been Troubleshooters, which I was going to get into because that was kind of the game changer for a lot of us. But yeah, Brandon, I remember going to Carlsbad Gap with him at that time, and I remember him back to 180 in it like first try.
Dang.
Wow.
And, you know, again, he's just like, you know, he told me, he's like, oh, I get the big from you and the tech from Smolik. And, you know,
Wow.
he's just like, he's like a sponge. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to remember, like, I remember going to the grocery store with him and some kid who was disabled, I guess he was deaf, and he dropped something and Brandon picked it up for him and gave it to him and the kid signed him and Brandon signing him back. And I was like, dude, where'd you learn sign language? Or like I would take you to some party or something. There was some girl there from Japan and he's talking to her Japanese. And I was like, this kid's like a genius. You know what I mean?
Smart
Like he's
dude.
just so smart, you know? And a lot of people would always think that him and Pete were just these partiers and just like burnouts. And like both those dudes were super smart.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. And
yeah.
I remember one time there was a conversation about that where when we were on tour on the Osiris days, I remember Fernandez was like talking to Peter like, like assuming he hadn't graduated high school, you know?
Okay.
And Peter just let him go on. And I was like, you know, Peter like, oh, you stupid bitch. Of course I graduated high school. You know, like that's how he talked, you know what I mean?
You know, he says that, but he says it's funny when he says
is funny.
it. I've heard him talk about things. It's actually hilarious.
It was hilarious. And he didn't mean it maliciously, but he was just like playing with him like, okay, keep going.
Right. Let's
You know,
hear it.
Let's keep going with it.
Keep burying yourself.
Yeah. So, but like, yeah. So B, and you know, I remember going to an ASR trade show and we had done some voice commercials in 4-in-1. We never dropped a video. We had footage, but it just never got dropped. And Schloss, obviously being a good filmer, was trying to create this whole thing. And he would just like release little things out on these commercials. And I remember going to ASR trade show and seeing Jason Dill. And I was with Brandon and Jason lost his mind. He's like, that's him. That's that kid that was doing those tricks in that 4-in-1 commercial. He like frontside 180 over the handrail at Point Loma High School.
Yeah,
he was just tiny, and he like frontside flipped down the 10, like pretty good, you know. And he was just like, yo, you don't even understand. Like, we watch you like all the time. Like, rewind your footage. You're so sick, dude. And, like, Brandon, like, finally, like, oh, like, I guess people think I'm good. And then at some point later on, Muska got wind of Brandon, and that's when he really recruited him for shorties.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for Brandon because he felt really loyal to all of us. You know, like, oh, these are the guys who discovered me. These are my homies. I live with them. But Chad only wanted him to go because I think Peter was like, yo, what about me, homie? He was like, well, he only wants me on the team. And I remember he got really sick. Brandon did. He had like a fever, and he wasn't returning calls. Like, yo, you okay, homie? I came over to his house. He answered the door. He's like sweating. I don't know if he's sweating from the fever or for just being nervous. But he's like, yo, dude, I don't know how to tell you this, but like Muska is trying to get me on this new company. It's called Shorties, and I got to take the offer. And I was like, dude, you need to follow your destiny, you know what I mean? Like, that's you. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at you.
Amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was just like, our friendship is more than that. You
For
know what I mean?
sure.
I was like, you go do that, you know? So it was hard, right? Like, we're homies, but it's like, you have to understand, like, you can't stand in someone's career.
And I think
Yeah, for sure.
it's obvious you get it.
Yeah, you have to.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you can't hold somebody back.
You can't hold them back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
and so
right.
that happened, and then I know Peter was trying to go with him, and he was trying real hard to. Peter was just on a mission. I mean, everything he did from that point on, that wound up in that Shorties video, which is probably one of the best parts I've ever seen.
It's crazy.
Was him like, I earn a spot here, and this is what I can do. That was his time, right? We all talk about everyone's time.
Yep.
That was his time, and he was so good. And I saw it coming, so we all just disbanded.
Okay.
And that's when I decided, like, hey, I got to turn up the heat. You know, and, like, I kind of had this whole, like, piece where I was, like, 93 came out with the covers and the video parts, getting offers from Tod Swank and turning him down.
Yeah.
Which I feel bad about because I saw Todd after that, and I kind of felt like it was a little weird. And I was like, hey, dude, I hope there's no bad. I mean, I was just a young, stupid kid.
Sure.
Like, I probably should have taken that deal, but I just didn't know any better. He's like, oh, it's all good. You guys are killing it out there. It's all good, you know? But anyways, so somehow, I don't remember who brought it up that maybe I should talk to Chris Miller about getting on Planet Earth. Maybe it was Miracle Mangum.
Okay.
There was a few people who I knew that were kind of like working over there at the time. And I think that Planet Earth was just about ready to get bought out by K2, which means they're going to have a lot more funding and backing and opportunities and this and that. And so I remember coming in the building and Chris Miller sitting me down and saying, hey, you know, I've been hearing a lot about what you're doing. You've been like coming back around, doing all this stuff and getting clips, and I had like an opener on 4-1, and I was getting stuff in the magazines again. And he was like, we're really interested in having you on Planet Earth. We're like really rebuilding. We're getting all this backing and funding. We're getting Chad Fernandez on and Frank Harada on. We got Kenny Anderson. He's going to turn pro. And he's like, but are you going to be the Kanten we saw in 93, or are you going to kind of disappear again? Like, we're not sure what happened between where you were killing it and you kind of disappeared. Now you're back. Like, are you going to be around and like do this for real and stick with it? Or are you just going to kind of disappear again? I was like, no, dude, I'm here. And he's like, that's all I needed to hear.
You're
Wow.
also like running a business at the time. You're kind of like running a business at the time doing Shaft and Voice.
Yeah, it was definitely distracting. And I think that I had to focus on just skating. And yeah, it's hard to like run a company, like run the company, not work in the company, you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it was an opportunity for me. Like, look, I just need to focus on skating. Either I'm going to make this happen or not. Because in 96, when I was on Voice, was when my first daughter was born. And so for me, that was like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to like be the dude sleeping on couches and kind of like being that guy trying to make this happen when I have a daughter at home. Like, I either have to make this work or nothing. I was like, I got 1 year to make this happen, and where I can actually earn a living to, you know, feed my
Support,
daughter, you know, my wife. And so, yeah, that was it. I just kind of went all in and told him, I was like, yeah, I'm in. I told him, I was like, dude, I got a family. I'm not here to play around.
What year was this?
So that was probably 98.
So we went from, he said 93 to 98. That was when you were kind of
Well, 93,
running the businesses.
Yeah, in 93 to 96, there just wasn't a lot coming out.
Right.
Because Schloss was just kind of locking it up. You know?
Oh.
Okay.
And so from 96 to 98 was when I started putting stuff out.
Got you. Okay.
And then that
okay.
got his attention.
Right. And then you had mentioned before Troubleshooters, because that video opened the door for a lot of you guys.
Yep.
When does Troubleshooters fall into this
98.
timeline? That's 98 as well.
Yep. So what happened was it's probably 97.
Mm-hmm.
You know, myself and Smolik and Mayhew, Chad Knight, you know, all the guys that kind of were sort of, I think we're like underdogs in my opinion. We're kind of underdogs, and we were like, yo, let's make a homie video.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Salentani, who was filming us a lot for like the Transworld videos and all these things we were doing, he had actually helped Schloss do some filming for the Etnies High Five.
Okay.
Etnies had hired Dave to do that High Five video. And so he was helping out with that, and I was going on a couple of trips with those guys for that, just kind of whatever, floating around. And so he was like, yo, I just want to do my own video, because that independent videos were kind of happening a little bit. And so he told me this, because I don't really remember the timeline very well, but I remember we were at Point Loma High School. We were at the back 13 stair rail, the one that Reynolds does the full cab over in the end.
The white one?
Yep.
Yep.
And I think that he frontside flipped it as well. And a lot of people had stuff on that, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember there was a whole bunch of people that day. We were skating the benches on the inside and doing all the tech stuff. And then we went to the back, and the whole Alien team was there. Rob Deerdeck was there.
Wow.
And so we were filming, and I remember doing the backside alley-oop kickflip over that rail the hard way, which was my last trick in that Troubleshooters part.
Yeah.
And then we just kept filming. But I remember that was a big deal because, Deerdeck was there. He's like, yo, homie, he's like, it's been a long time. I think he even said, like, it's been a long time since the Deerdecks jumped down anything that big or something, something funny.
Yeah.
And I was...
So good.
And in my head, I'm thinking, like, yeah, how about, But the Alien team was there kind of freaking out, but it was like, it's one of those things, again, where, like, I was trying it, and once you try something, it's like you don't want to look like a chump in front of everybody, Like, all these people are watching, so, like, I had to do it. Mm-hmm. And that was probably one of the gnarliest things I ever did, because going blind the hard way over that and flipping and catching.
It didn't look like you have a lot of big angle for it either.
Sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to actually go kind of parallel. You know? It was gnarly.
You should flip that as well, too, right?
Yeah, kick flipped it, heel flipped it, backswing needed it the hard way first.
Yeah.
Which kind of made me think I could. I did that in a Transworld video. So then we were filming for this video. I was like, maybe I could throw a flip in,
Well, you backflipped a lot of big stuff in your day.
Dude.
Yeah, but not that.
Yeah,
that way was hard.
That's a mind fuck right there.
And so I remember when I would landed and rolled away, I had to like carve over this little tree thing, and because if I fell, I probably would have not accepted it. So I got to do it again. But he was telling me that once I did that trick, everyone else was in on the video.
Oh, wow.
He's like, that trick set off
Solidified
the whole video.
the Troubleshooters video.
Yeah,
Okay.
Troubleshooters. Yeah, because when everyone found out that I gave that, I was like, yeah, that trick's going to Troubleshooters.
It legitimized
the whole video.
Gotcha.
That's right.
And then Mayhew's part,
super
still one of the best parts I've seen from Dave. I mean, there's a lot of tricks in that video that are really, really good.
Yeah.
I
That part's
thought.
amazing. Dave's part's amazing.
Dave's was good. I mean, Chad and I had sick stuff in there.
Yes.
Like, everyone was killing it.
Was it Pete
Dude,
Lemon?
Pete Lehman was in it a little bit.
Dude, you back then the spots down there were so good. The schoolyards down there, I think, were better than LA schoolyards. Like in my opinion, because the benches were really, really good.
Dude,
they had like
metal.
There was metal, and they had it like the ground would meet up like this, so it could get like a little bit of a bump to a lot of them.
So that's what's crazy.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know if we want to call it lazy, but we were comfortable. It's convenient. Like, we didn't get sponsored by. If I lived in Indiana, we wouldn't be talking, right? Like, I lived in San Diego. I lived where all the spots were. We skated my junior high school. Correa Junior High was my high school. And we thought about skating there because the first photo I ever saw of anyone board sliding a bench was Johnny Kopp in a Transworld video, probably in '86, at my junior high school.
Oh wow!
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's it.
There's
We're
a spot.
supposed to be skating benches. Fast forward to Hensley and Shackle Me Not doing the board slide to popovers. That was all at Correa. That was my junior high school.
I love it.
Amazing.
And then Point Loma High School was where they had those benches where out of nowhere the school put metal edge caps on the benches.
They made it better.
We couldn't believe it. We're like, are they tripping? Like,
Yeah,
are they
like-
trying to set us up or something?
Like they didn't want you to ruin the actual bench, so they put metal on top.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were like little rivets, but you just grind. You can hear
Right.
in the footage, you can hear the click, 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 click. But you can just go right over those rivets.
Wow.
So I was like, this is already a skate friendly area. like this is just gonna. There was just sessions of 30, 40 people there every weekend.
Dang, I
Every
never
weekend.
made it down there, man.
The Correa Junior High had the benches, and it was the 10 stair with the rail, and you could go over the rail into the bank. Is where Sheffy and Soldier Story did the ollie up to backside 50 stall.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wait a
Wait,
minute.
what was
Sick.
the one that people do tricks over the Black Bank in Land of the Black Bank? What's that one? That's a different spot.
That's different.
What was that spot
That's
called?
Patrick Henry.
No,
There's a bigger bank.
they
Right?
used to have a bunch of cement ledges and benches, and they had like a little platform you could put a bench down, and then in the back like
Montgomery.
was that? I can't remember. I just
I
remember
mean,
that.
not Montgomery. Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Yeah, Roosevelt.
That was one of the best schools I've probably
Yeah.
ever seen.
But the hard thing about that rail into the bank was at the bottom they had. Remember, it got a hole at the bottom.
oh yeah,
And so like you had to do a trick over it and somehow like roll over that
Yeah.
gap in it. Like if you look at that footage of Heath Kirchart tray flipping it,
Yes.
he has a like almost ollie over that like pothole. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
That bank was hard to land into. The
Yeah.
one at Correa was it was smoother. It was concrete at the time. It was like a really smooth concrete bank, which was great for like Sheffy to do it. But the rail was way higher. No, actually it wasn't higher. It was pretty reasonable because later they redid that bank and it got really rough, and someone like bondoed a runway to it, and then people were doing tricks over the rail. Like that's like you see a lot of people doing tricks
yeah.
over
I
it.
see what
It's
you're
like
saying.
it's a cement. Yeah.
Yeah, like Tyler Surly does the switch flip, switch late shove it, which is insane.
Yeah.
That was a
sure.
hard. We actually all went there recently. Jake Johnson had came into town. We were skating with Wes Kramer and Marius and all the OGs, all the kids who, like these kids were like the North County skate kids who had PE they had skate PE.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? I was like, man, these kids got it too good. These kids aren't gonna make it. You know? I was like, these kids are too spoiled. You know what I mean? Like they got it too good.
They were grooming them to be
the
pro.
90s. You know, like they're hungry. They're not running from the
Yeah,
cops.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Speaking of banks, half cab over
Chain
the
over the
chain
bank.
Oh.
over the Tom Penny bank.
Man.
Right.
Let's just be honest.
Well, you know, we saw that. I mean, so yeah, all those spots. Point Loma. I mean, so we growing up there. That was in Shelter Island. That was in Point Loma. And Tom Penny obviously murdered that spot.
yeah.
As like you show up there, and there was a few people who did.
They were doing some stuff.
some other
for
stuff.
sure. JT Ultz, what nose wheelie?
Kickflip nose manual.
Kickflip nose.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
And Dobbs staff. I don't think even people saw this clip. I did come out somewhere, but he did a full cab heel flip over it. So good.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Like insane.
well, we're talking about half cab.
Yeah, so-
half cab the whole damn
Yeah,
thing.
so I was like, I'm not going to be doing the full cab kickflip over this, you know, like, and I think someone had ollied over the whole thing, and I was like, well, maybe I'll do something over that. And but yeah, it was a mine.
Do you know just like how sketchy
It was sketchy.
you're going fakey
It makes
at
me
this
cringe.
chain?
Yeah, you're and trust me, you're looking at the chain. Yeah, you're looking.
It's the only
at the
thing I'd be
chain.
looking at.
Yeah.
You're looking.
One misstep and you're
is
flipped
Going
over.
fakey over it.
Ooh.
So my whole thing was I'll go really fast and just focus on half cabbing the chain and somehow just clear the bank.
Just float.
You just float fast.
float the rest of the
Just
way.
worry about the chain,
Right.
and the landing will come later. Yeah.
Wow. How many tries did that take you? Was that a long try or was
Not
that
really.
No, a couple.
Maybe 4 or 5
That's
tries.
it. Wow. You just hauled ass.
Well, because
and
you have to, you just got to do it, you know.
Wow.
And a half cab is something you kind of control, like a back 780.
Right.
I did front 780 at first.
Okay.
That was a voice commercial. Then I back 780'd it
Oh wow.
for something,
Oh, so you done some tricks.
and then
over
and then I half cabbed it.
Then you
Yeah.
half cabbed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn.
I love it.
And
Dude,
then
I
love it.
timing wise, you know.
Yeah.
I remember going there and being really tripped out how steep it actually was.
Yeah.
And I you know, when you ever skate a set of stairs or something, you're like, I don't need to ollie this. The risk isn't worth the reward. Ollieing in that thing was like, I was like, it's not worth it for me. It's either I have to do a hard trick and like battle it, or I'm probably ollie it and eat shit. It's not worth it. You know what I mean?
I don't know, Kelly. Actually, you have that kind of pop that actually probably worked pretty good for that spot.
But like I wasn't like a landing
Straight
in a
up,
bank.
and, yeah, that's
I
true.
wasn't landing to a bank
into
type of dude.
Yeah.
Kelly was more of like look at it, get in a car type of dude and go home.
If I
like
knew
pull
I
up to
had
the
it-
car, look at it,
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, keep going.
Drive
Drive by.
past it. Yeah.
We always have jokes about that. Like, is this a spot I would get out the car for?
Right.
You know?
Seriously.
Yeah, but man, that spot was sketchy.
Oh my god.
I mean, there was some good stuff that happened at that, and a lot of stuff in the banks. Yeah, Correa, Point Loma, And so Troubleshooters, you know, dropped and that kind of did it. So like that came out right when I got on Planet Earth.
That was it. Okay.
And Planet Earth was like, look, you know, we're going to support you in this video now that you're coming on the team. So actually they helped distribute it.
Amazing.
And it actually got out pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think it won like Independent Video of the Year award or something. And then from there we were doing parts for like the Transworld clips, and it just kind of rolled into other things. And eventually after that I just started stacking clips for the Storm video.
Storm. Right.
And so I was on Airwalk during 96 to probably 98 or maybe 95 to 98. And I was getting to a point where the more coverage I was getting, the more they were kind of supporting me. And, you know, I mean, it was a stacked team, right? I mean, it had like Jeff Raleigh on it and Jason Lee and Barra and everybody. And they were paying us decent, you know, for back then pretty well, and giving us 12 shoes a pop, probably, you know, just like cartons of shoes, you know, like, oh, you want a snowboard? You want snowboard clothes? I mean, it was like shopping, you know. So shout out to those guys for hooking it up. And it was just one of those things where I was at Point Loma skating. We were filming tricks probably for Troubleshooters. And Brian Reed was there. And he was there with like Mayhew and some other dudes. And I think that Mayhew and Gershon, Adam McNatt, and Tyrone were already on. They just started the company.
Okay.
And I think I remember doing the backside flip out
On the bench.
At Point Loma. And Reed was there, and he's like, damn, that was a sick trick. That would have looked so sick if those were in Osiris shoes.
You're like, well.
and he just kept doing, like, he was on a few sessions, just kept playing with me like that. Like, oh, that'd be so sick if they were in Osiris. And I was just like, dude, like, Osiris is new. Like, is this actually going to be around, you know? Like, I've already had plenty of those, you know, the BBC days, the Sims days, like
The 1 year stints.
I already know what this looks like.
For sure.
You know,
You're already
like,
in a solid deal with Airwalk.
Yeah,
like,
so I'm on Airwalk. I'm on Planet Earth. I'm not trying to mess this up. I got a family to feed, you know, like.
I like Evil shoes better.
Yeah, Evil. Yeah, so they started with Evil shoes,
Right.
and then they turned it into Osiris. And but then the more I skated, you know, I skate with those guys all the time. You know, I think even Chad, got on before me. So it was like Mayhew, Chad, and I, Tyrone, we were all skating together all the time.
Yeah.
Filming all the time. And eventually it was just like, maybe, you know. I mean, they were dropping ads, and so they were offering me a lot of opportunities, and I went back to Airwalk, and I was like, I think I'm going to do this.
Well,
Okay.
this time you're actually skating with your crew.
Right.
So
Which is
that's
nice.
Yeah,
And it goes back to, this is the first time I feel like I really fit with these guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is people you ride with, who can go in a van with, who you can just laugh with, and, you know, even, you know, get mad at and still be cool the next day kind of thing. You
So
know?
important.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how that happened. And so I was going on Planet Earth trips and, you know, Osiris trips. And it's kind of funny because at some point, I don't remember if it was before or after the storm. Yeah, I think it was after the storm came out. But I remember Planet Earth was stacking clips for a video, and Chris Miller hired Dave Schlossbach to do that video because of what he did on the storm. But let's just say that the rough edit that we all witnessed was not
Up to par.
it was
Oh, man.
terrible.
What, like
It-
the skating or like just the way it was put together?
The editing and the intro was like techno. I don't even know if, I mean, what's some other phrases we can use for techno? I mean, it was
Electronic?
drum and bass.
Oh, I don't know.
EDM.
it might have been, it was
EDM.
pretty extreme. I mean, it was like,
Sure, you want to watch the
tech-
rhythm video?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of what the rhythm video
No,
sounds like.
guys, this was a whole new level of techno. I mean, it was like some scary, like maybe haunted house.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, wow.
I don't even know.
Okay.
And there was like a lot of strobe light going on. And there was this intro where there's this dummy that goes over a waterfall. And I'm like, what does this have to do with skateboarding? Like, I didn't get it. It was like,
Work
it
for
was,
Lance.
it was some weird symbology kind of thing. And everyone was looking at each other like, what are we watching? And needless to say, the thing did not stick. And I think eventually Dave just got fired from it. And
Oh,
it was I don't know what he was doing. I was like, look, I know you're trying to do something different and like way out there, but this is not it. This doesn't even match. Like, I think he was like interjecting all these weird like nature things, and maybe he's thinking Planet Earth, but it was pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
Trying to like recreate now and later.
what was so? The storm. He edited the storm.
He there was other people who actually edited it, like with him kind of in the mix.
Okay.
He did all the filming. He was like the director. I mean, I think he was credited for kind of producing it along with, all the Osiris guys. But yeah, so I mean, Planet Earth. It was so that's where it got weird because Earth had their own little image thing. Osiris had theirs, and I felt like the bigger we got with Osiris, the more it was getting weird at Planet Earth.
Oh, interesting.
But Chris Miller was a big supporter. I mean, that guy had great pep talks. And I remember one time, probably after we were on for a bit and had a few models in, and I think we had like a review, which is kind of cool that he did that. Like, it's like, hey, let's do a check-in and see where everyone's at. And I think other people came in before me, and he was like, like, you're always really like chill. You kind of just back up your skating. You're not coming in here slamming your fist on the table demanding more money. So I'm going to give you a raise as much as I gave everyone else, but I'm also going to give you more money for your medical insurance, for your family, this and that. And I was like, dude, that's sick. Wow. And he's like, just, you went out to like the Tampa Am, you didn't make the cut, but you went out and did that crazy double set over the rail at night, because you just felt like you wanted to make something happen out there. And a lot of people just did make the cut and just chilled and partied. And you actually like took your time out there and got shit done.
Love that.
And so I was like, dude, thank you. So like, I just always remembered that and kind of share that with other people of like, look, if you're going to put in the work, you might find that people will support you and back you up, but you got to put in the work first.
Absolutely.
And then that will all come. And, as long as you have a cool boss like Chris Miller.
There you go.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, that helps.
That helps.
He got it.
But it's the recognition, though.
Right.
It's like giving you that recognition.
Yeah.
That you
and
you're
having
doing
that
it.
from Chris Miller, that meant a lot. It's like, here's a guy who's been there, done that, he gets it. And later on some other road trips where we had mixed it up with some other team riders because they were on audio or on Mercury trucks or whoever they were on, that was kind of under that umbrella.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I was hearing from other people, they were getting quite a bit less than us, and I was like, you might want to talk about getting a raise. Like, I mean, there are some people on some brands that were huge, and they were getting underpaid. I mean, it was bad.
This was 98-ish?
98-ish and 99,
right, okay.
Even 99.
I can see that, yeah.
Well, this is when like Osiris was starting to blow up, so you're probably seeing a lot of money coming in.
Well,
from
you're
the
just
shoe.
talking about from Planet Earth.
Yeah, from Planet Earth. So I was saying
Osiris aside.
I was saying 99, knowing what that's when Chris kind of gave me that raise and knowing what we were making and some other people. But I also saw, Smolik and those guys were getting good checks from shorties.
Right.
And I think we all kind of knew where everyone was at. And I was like really shocked on some of these big companies, what they were paying their dudes. And I remember like bunking up with dudes like, yeah, you need to.
Damn, you guys would actually talk about it.
Yeah. Well, it just kind of came out like, hey, man, like, how is it for you? Because I'm kind of struggling with this.
Yeah.
I think I was always that dude who just maybe seemed trustworthy to confide in,
Yeah.
I mean, like I had, in 99, I had my second kid. Like I was like not trying to mess around. Like I think they just saw that I was like, hey, this guy actually.
Maybe they saw you more responsible.
Right.
As somebody they can talk to about finances. You know?
And so I was like, hey, dude, like,
But it's
this
interesting.
is where we're at.
I think a lot of companies, I mean, they, took advantage of a lot of skateboarders.
Yeah.
And
it happens.
Around that time, did Miller ever offer you to ride for audio?
He did. Well, he asked me, he was like, so what's your deal with Osiris? And I told him what we were doing, our royalty rate, what we were getting, and all that stuff. And he was like, yeah, I think you're good where you are.
You're chilling. You're chilling.
Because I think we had negotiated a pretty good royalty rate.
Okay.
And that was the whole deal. Like, do you want a bigger minimum or do you want a bigger royalty rate? And so because it was a new company when I got on, I was able to negotiate a pretty good royalty rate.
Perfect.
And everyone who came in after that got lower and lower and lower. I remember Louis Barletta hit me up one time. He's like, yeah, I really want to negotiate something. And I know I'm going to get my shoes soon. I'm pretty sure I'm the lowest paid dude on the team. I was like, yeah, I think so. Like, because he was the last dude on.
Right.
Oh.
So it kept going down.
And
down
the royalty
right?
rates were like low, but like that's what other people were getting. But on Osiris, they were hearing all these big numbers, and it's because the founding dudes on the team were able to negotiate the higher rates.
How from the time you got on Osiris till your first shoe came out, what was that time span?
A year.
That was in the first year.
Damn.
Yeah.
First shoe.
So
was that the Defcon one?
Yep. So I got on in 98, and my shoe came out in 99. I think at the Storm premiere, that's when they brought out the bronze shoes, which I was gonna bring, but I was like, maybe he already brought his shoe. We already know.
We
what
saw
that
the
looks
bronze
like.
shoe.
We
We would
saw
love
the
to see your
shoe.
bronze shoe though.
Yeah,
but well, you brought the real ones.
Yeah, so this is a real one. So, this isn't quite as big as the D3, but probably not too far
It's
off.
close.
Minus
not
the
far.
loops, and it's not light.
Yeah,
No,
probably
no.
weighs about the same.
That thing weighs as much as my cat, dude.
I mean, I think.
It's like wearing two cats on your feet, just stomping
I'm
around.
gonna need to see a picture of that cat.
She's a big girl.
But yeah, so this thing, I mean, obviously this was probably great for impact.
Sure.
I was like, yeah, I want the airbags, but what's funny is like, when Dave did his first shoe, it was so simple and low tech, and it's like what we ride now. And I think I want to say he did the D3 before this one. I saw it before this, and it was crazy. I mean, and I remember like he was working on it. He went to the shoe store, the Sport Chalet, and he saw the hiking boot and the loops and had the concept for it. So I saw the idea he had and the concept for it. And by all means, Reed did work on the design. So I think there's a little bit of both going on there.
Sure.
But when I saw the samples, it was just massive. I was like, dude, this thing, can you even skate in this? But then, of course, I'm like looking at this, like, who am I to talk? Like, this is pretty big.
I mean, we're talking. They're both big, but the D3 had more bells and whistles.
It did.
Let's
Totally.
put it that way.
And so what happened was Dave was like, dude, my first shoe tanked. And like he took a lower minimum to get the higher royalty rate in hopes that it would pay off. But he was broke,
Right.
Other dudes were like killing it. I mean, Gershon and Tyrone at that time, their shoes were killing
And we're
it.
talking about the shoe that was simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were like very simple at
Very
first,
simple.
and then started to get little.
He had the most simple shoe of everybody.
Right.
And then he went from that to the D3.
Amazing.
And he was
He's like, well, let's just go from one extreme to the
That's
next.
it.
Might as well.
and that's what he said. He's like, dude, I got nothing to lose.
Right.
He's like, if I don't make anything that doesn't stand out on the shelf, I'm not going to sell shoes.
You had 3 shoes?
Yep.
Is that correct? So you had the Defcon 1, the Defcon 2, and then...
And then the Burn, which
Burn.
is like probably not much different than Dave's first shoe, which is really simple.
Oh, okay.
It was more simple. It wasn't as tech like this. So, but the thing is, Dave was right, dude. Like this shoe sold the best of any shoe I ever had. And it's because it was bigger, tech, had all the bells
Right.
and whistles, the bags, the detailing.
Yeah, because this one is. Well, let me grab it. The second
Yeah, he's got the
Yeah.
the Defcon 2.
He's got the Defcon 2, which they promoted pretty well and did decent.
And they made a lot of colorways out of these
They
shoes.
did. They made a lot of colorways for sure. I mean, this was in the era before, I guess, colorways are the thing now, right? Like you don't get your shoe, you just get colorways.
Nowadays, it's like the colorways.
Yeah.
It's a thing, right?
Well, give it out because it's
It's expensive.
it's expensive to give all these pro riders their own shoes.
Yeah.
It's a different. It's
Unless you know that these shoes are going to make you $40 million.
yeah,
there you
it's like,
go. There you
it's-
go.
I don't
That
know.
would make an
it's-
easy decision.
Yeah. I mean, so if we're getting good royalty checks, you know what the company's getting.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so, yeah, that was, I mean, yeah, dude, it was mind blowing to kind of, I remember Tony Mag at one point handing out checks in the office, and I remember handing me a check, and he's like, well, Ken, I'm pretty sure this is the biggest check I ever handed you.
Wow.
It's like, over 20 G's,
Yeah.
For 1 month. Yeah.
For this just the month.
1 month. And I'm looking at Dave, and I was like, not to throw his numbers out there, but it was much bigger than mine.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dave, if I'm getting this, I don't know what you're getting.
Wait, are you guys all looking around just like, what did you get? What did you get?
Who had the biggest?
No, it wasn't like that, but the homies were like cool with it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, for some of us, all pretty even, 20, 30s, 40s,
Right.
and above. you
Yeah.
know?
Wow.
But you got to remember, like, some of us, in the moment, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Like, you're just thinking in your head, this is going to go forever.
Yeah.
But in reality, you're like, no, this isn't going to go forever, knowing that some people only have a career for 3 years. I mean, so if you think about it, that 93 to 96 year, I memean, when Chris was talking about, oh, you kind of disappeared, I was like, hey, I thought maybe that was it.
Right.
Because that's normal, right? 3 years, you're done.
Yeah.
And so to kind of come back in 98 and 99 and then kind of go beyond that, like that was another window that I was like, hey, I already know this may not be forever, so we need to make sure we do the right thing with this money.
Speaking of forever, how long was it between the first DEFCON and what was the last shoe called? The
Burn.
Burn.
I think that was like a
What year? How many? What,
probably like a 4 or 5 year run.
4 or 5 year run.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
Pretty
it's not too
good.
bad.
And then
Bad at
literally,
all.
the Osiris video came out like the Storm came out like a year after also.
99. And then I remember that specifically because that was the night that DVD dropped was the night my second daughter was born.
That's what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so again, just kind of motivation to keep going. It's like, okay, well, and my whole thing was just coming from humble beginnings. My family didn't have a lot of money. I didn't take any of this for granted. I got 2 kids now, 2 girls, mind you. Not even kids, girls.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's like 3 kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not taking this for granted. I'm going to make it happen.
Let me
And,
see that thing.
and somehow we were able to skate in these things. So, it's
heavy, bro.
now we just use it for weights,
It's
5
amazing,
pound weight.
bro. It's heavy, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, we used to skate. I didn't skate in any Osiris. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No.
Please finish about your.
No.
I was gonna say. I mean, we all skated in the bigger these Huff shoes, the DVS, the pretty bulky,
DCs.
but DCs. But these are bro.
They're heavy.
These are bro.
These are
That's
bro.
These are
Actually,
These
a lot of bros wore those back then.
Are
Yeah.
You know what?
bro.
Yeah.
You're right. You know why? Because there were other tech shoes coming out, and I remember picking them up. I was like, wait, how come these are lighter? Bro. I was like, what are we using
Because
for this
these
rubber?
are because they're bro.
Yeah, I was like, dude,
See,
these are.
times I told you.
We need to
built to
come up
last.
with some better materials.
You know,
I mean,
this
but
reminds
you-
me of the Sean Sheffy DVS.
Yeah, little Sean
Yeah,
Sheffy.
totally.
Yep,
I
yep,
can see
yep,
that
yep.
too.
Similar.
And that
It was
this one
similar, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How much design factor did you put into it?
honestly, I think they showed us some stuff, and I was like, you guys cool with this? I mean, I wasn't a designer.
No, okay.
I remember for this sole, I remember Tony Mag. Oh, actually, it's kind of similar. I remember Tony Mag giving me something for like a pattern for the sole, and I drew some sketches on there. I think it was actually kind of similar to this, but
Okay.
I doubt they even cared. I mean,
So you just kinda took
I
it
think
in-
I think I definitely told them I wanted something that could handle impact
Okay.
and
so you
fit
had some
airbags.
say in it, and
Yeah, I just gave a little
bit,
input, but those guys came up, and then the Defcon 2.
right, which was
I
over there.
think I don't know if Persuade did the 1 and the 2. I'm pretty sure he did the 2. And that one is a little bit lighter, right? Kelly, is it a little bit?
I
lighter?
that
can't
one
tell
is that
because-
one is lighter.
You know what kind of
before the
reminds me
show.
of for some weird reason? You might think I'm crazy,
Reynolds.
but that and the Ed
That's true.
Templeton shoe. Remember the America?
You know what? I think you're right. It does kind of look like a Reynolds a little bit that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one actually on the lace tab, you see on the gray thing, it has like a little K on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then that one matched. I try to tie that into a Planet Earth board graphic, which is behind. Yep. So I was trying to like
God.
have this little theme.
Yeah,
And then you
okay.
can see on the shoebox behind Kelly, there's like the K on it. I kind of was like,
Yeah.
Trying to be icon.
yeah, I was trying to come up with something that kind of tied everything in. And I was really into hip hop. And I remember seeing this DMX cover, and it was kind of like a rugged font like that. I was
Yep,
like, oh,
yep,
let's
yep.
kind of rough it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Bro, you are grilling right there,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh yeah.
Evil.
Probably another reason why I was probably not going to be a good fit for a lot of teams.
Well, let's put it this way: you had a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like.
That-
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, when I was
Good.
younger, when
That's
I was
good in
younger, I
itself,
had
man.
like the high top fade. I was pretty militant and aggressive. We were just like kids who were like, really into hip hop culture and just
The fade was sick, by the way.
mean mugging. Yeah, high top fade. Yeah, if I could grow that thicker out, I mean, I see that style coming back. I was like, it's so hilarious, and people are like, oh, it's like this new thing. I was like, dude, I had that in the '90s.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
yeah.
It's this new thing.
I just want to talk about one thing because the cover back here is burning a hole in my eyeballs. The Big Brother Ollie cover, which is almost the same year too. It's like '98,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That was '90.
That thing, what? That,
I mean,
that
anyone-
thing is massive.
Anyone that's been to
Dumb
Long Beach knows that where that is.
Yeah, that had to be '98 because I wasn't on Planet Earth at the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I think I might have gone on during the interview, but I remember so I did it twice.
You did.
Yeah, so the first time we were just skating around Long Beach with this kid Kevin Davis, who was
Oh my
Gnarly.
dude!
He was good.
Nollie barrel heel board slide.
yeah. I mean,
was
I
so
remember
gnarly.
I showed up to Planet Earth with him, and he was skating in the parking lot, and Kenny Anderson, who I have a lot of respect for because he was very particular about everything he does, his tricks, style, the people on the team. I can't even believe I made it on the team, to be honest with you, with Kenny, because he's just to a whole nother level of style. But he saw Kevin Davis in the parking lot. He's like, dude, who is that kid and how fast can we get him on the team?
Yeah.
Like, so he was on Earth for a little bit.
Okay.
He switched crook to San Guido rail way back, and I was like,
He was doing a lot of gnarly stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he switched back to when he did that Point Loma High School rail, the hard way switch.
wow, the same one you backside
Yeah.
flipped.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was gnarly. Yeah, but so I was up there with him, and he wanted to do some stuff, and then we just saw that rail, and I was like, dude, maybe I could ollie this, and it was a bad run up. The angle is kind of weird. You kind of go sideways to it, and then the downhill, like talk about bank landings. It's like a downhill
Sure.
bank landing, which probably was good because it was such a big drop. But I tried it a few times, made it and rolled away, and it was filmed real raw, just kind of sloppy. And it was almost like homey footage.
Okay.
And it was just something where I was like, maybe I'll go back and redo that for a photo, if people think it's like good enough, you know.
Okay.
And so, because I just didn't think it was that crazy, because I'd already been doing stuff, but I was like, oh, maybe it'll look sick.
It's a 4-story building. bro.
I just, in my head, I think it was a way for me to like downplay everything, so like I didn't get too
I get
freaked
you. I
out.
get you,
Like,
yeah.
oh, I can do this, no
Yeah,
problem.
Okay.
But yeah, so I went back. So I don't know how the interview came up with Big Brother, but maybe it was Cossack or they called me or something, because I think I did the Transworld interview first, possibly.
Okay.
The one with that fold out gate and all that.
Yep.
Oh, on this one right here.
Yeah,
Transworld?
that was first, I think, in '98, and then
Yeah.
I think the Big Brother one was a follow up, because people saw that like, oh,
right here.
Yeah.
This
yeah, they're like, oh, okay, you did that, you're killing it. Let's go shoot an interview for us.
Okay.
And then it was kind of the same thing, like, hey, if you can do that Long Beach thing, maybe it could be the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember meeting Dmitry Ilyasovich, who a lot of people know from Big Brother and all this stuff, but for me, I remember him just being a sick East Coast photographer. And I remember I met him and I was like, dude, your photos that you first dropped in the magazines were so sick. And he's like, dude, that's awesome. I didn't even know people even paid attention to that. And so when we shot the photos for that cover and some of the stuff in the inside of it, he was like, I just want to say, like, I really appreciated you shouting me out like that. It really motivated me to, like, try to shoot
amazing.
good photos again, because when you're shooting all the time, you just kind of point and click. This is your job. You just kind of go and get it done and you're out. But if you look at some of those photos in there, I remember there was a back 180 heel flip over this dumpster, and he had, like, arranged these tubes in there and this lighting, and it was a really sick photo. And he was telling me how proud he was, like, that he was able to, like, get back to being creative.
Oh, that's amazing, bro.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
How
Yeah.
just a couple words can spark somebody like that.
I was just being honest. I was like, dude, your photos and the colors you use, it was
Yeah.
super sick. And he was like, okay, we're gonna do some shit
So you just decided then you wanted to go back
to shoot that.
to shoot that.
Yeah.
And you shot that with Meech
Dimitri.
also? Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Meech, yeah,
Shout out Meech.
yeah, he was an animal. He went on a couple of tours with us too, and he was awesome.
He's great.
He is great,
He's
dude.
great. But Big Ollie, congratulations
and
on that. It's amazing.
And that made it into the Storm video. I think that was my
Yep.
opening trick, actually. And then there was some other stuff in there that Cossack shot, and it was
Okay.
cool. I actually stayed at Cossack's house.
Yeah.
And we just went around and just found random spots and just shot stuff. So
And by the way, we have a lot of Big Brother people on. We just had Jeff Tremaine
I
on.
saw
and
that. Yeah, Jeff did my interview.
He did your interview?
wow.
And that's the issue that Johnny Knoxville did, the self-defense article,
Yep.
which is where Johnny Knoxville pretty much
Started.
got started.
That's like having a G.I. Joe, first G.I. Joe thing right there.
Yeah,
you keep that in a wrapper?
I don't think
You better
so.
keep that in a wrapper, bro.
Don't bring that up, Kelly.
I mean, needless to say that you've had, so many epic clips and tricks. And I mean, like I said, I always admired you because you were just going for the
I was on a
biggest
mission.
shit.
Yeah.
I was like, dude.
It just goes back to that Gons issue.
And I never did any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it really, I was like, I don't know. I was always been a big fan.
But you guys all have your thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I remember seeing Kelly and his footage, and he just had such a good, sick pop. Like all his tricks were so clean. It didn't even have to be over or down anything. I was like, I'm never gonna do a Sitch trade that good. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
everybody's got
dude.
their
Thanks,
little
man.
bag,
yeah, same
Everybody's
thing
got
with
their
Jerron.
thing.
When he came out, it was like, I mean, a lot of people knew because he was floating around like, oh, this kid Jerron on Reel, and just killing it, and his footage coming out. I was like, dude, this kid is like the prodigal. It was like watching Little B, just seeing these kids coming up and killing it. And then the thing I remember about you, Chris, when you came out was everything you were doing, you held like really long. Like all your ledge tricks, you were just going so far. And I was like, dude, that's amazing. Because like a lot of people weren't doing that.
Nah,
Right.
nobody's
Like everyone
doing
finds their niche.
that. For sure.
Like for me, I was like, I'm not going to be day one.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to be able to be more tech than like a Mayhew. Like, what am I going to do to stand out in my video? I remember actually having that conversation with Chad Fernandez in a tour bus. Of all people, he gave me this philosophical advice, you know, and I was like, man, I'm just worried about my part. I need to be well-rounded, and I have some of the bench tricks and this and that. He's like, dude, stop worrying about that. Just do what you do best.
Right.
He's like, stop worrying about what everyone else has got in their parts and just do you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
And that's what the long grinds. Like that's what I loved.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
was
sounded
like a challenge.
when you're in. We bring it up a lot. The listen part.
Yeah.
When the opening line at the graffiti pit and like the Nolly Nose one you do there later is like, I was like, whoa, this dude, and it sounded good.
Yeah, the sound.
It sounded good. So you're like,
It's a
that was
sound.
dope.
I
dude.
picked the soundtrack from that video. by the
Yeah,
way.
do not
soundtrack.
shortchange
soundtrack,
yourself.
yeah.
But that was what stood out to me. I was like, this dude, like, you would get into a trick and it was a sound.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like grinding or sliding and it's all gritty and it's
Yeah.
going. And after all, I was like, he's still going.
Well,
Yeah.
I do remember for a while there, like a 90s, late 90s, like everybody would kind of do these like bonks
Yep.
on the end of curbs,
Yep.
like nollie back 180, nollie back tail slides, like just
Oh,
bonk
yeah.
it, you know, crooked grind bonk, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that wasn't fulfilling. I wanted to grind.
We were all fans. I think I pretty much retired bench skating after you came out
Ah,
with some of those
come on.
tricks.
I only had-
I was like,
listen,
I'm done.
Backsmith, backside flip back then. I don't know if I don't know if I saw that back then. That was one of the, and you did a random one, dude. Fakey Smith, fakey flip out.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I was
It just kind of came, again, just playing around with tricks. It kind of just worked. It just
Yeah.
like locked in, kind of worked in there. And then the backsmith one, I was like, well, I'm so dipped, I can actually pop out.
Right.
Yes.
So I was like
leverage on it.
doing backside 180s out. I was doing big spins out, and I just tried to start flipping it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the first one I ever saw on tape.
Yeah.
I mean, it got murdered after that. That's for
Love
sure.
Oh, everyone could. I feel like everyone could do it
Yeah,
now.
I was like,
Yeah, hold the flag. If you did that shit first, hold that shit.
Yeah.
First, bro.
But I want to
I
ask.
got the flag.
I'm assuming that you landed your the big tricks pretty fast. What was that like when you're approaching something? Did you do it stick it first try? Were you kicking
it
out?
depends.
Yeah.
I mean, the flip tricks down big stuff sometimes. I mean, I don't know. I remember when I did the tech tricks, those were really hard.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the fakey Smith, fakey flip thing actually came pretty quick once I got it. And the backsmith, back flip out was hard. I remember Day One came up to me one day. I was like, dude, I saw those tricks. That was so sick. And I was like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's you
Yeah.
know, an honor. You know what I mean?
But we talked about that recently, just like how those obviously tech tricks will take longer.
It takes a while.
And just, but the bigger drops,
Yeah.
it's just, you got to go.
You got it. Well, so I remember the Silvergate 14. I remember backside flipping that. And again, sometimes if you're just in the mind frame, it just rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there were some kids in my neighborhood who I skateboarded with at the local little skate park. It was like a prefab wood skate park. And they had a birthday thing. And I was like, okay, guys, for your birthday, I'm going to take you to some real street spots. So we went to like the Bay Park, like the bump to the railing that a lot of people
The
skate.
steep ass bank to the little rail. That thing would look so. Okay, it was awesome spot, but looked horrible,
now that
dude.
Kelly says that, I was like, I take these poor kids to the hardest part.
Yeah, I was
spot ever.
I thought you were going to say I brought him to this Long Beach Ollie that I did.
It's
14.
probably not much better.
Yeah.
Kelly's right. That bank to rail.
I was like, how are people skating that thing?
Trust me, those kids weren't skating.
They looked at it. Where are we going next?
I know that was
Yeah.
pretty much it. I mean, they were skating the bank part of it. Like if you go over, there's like a real bank, and they were just skating that. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, it was kind of close to where we lived.
Well, you skated it before, so like, oh, this is cool. I used to skate here.
Yeah.
And then-
It's like they thought they were going to Chuck E. Cheese,
I
but
know,
you took them
yeah.
to Domino's.
So I took him there. I might have took him to some other spot that was probably more reasonable. And I was like, hey guys, I got to meet this guy. Story is so crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to meet this guy to shoot a photo at this 14 stair.
are you bringing these kids with you?
Come on, guys.
That's exactly what happened. I brought it. I was like, yeah, it literally was me like, oh, we got a slight detour. I just got to backside flip this 14 real quick, and then we'll keep going on some other stuff. So yeah, I brought the kids with me because someone asked me this, like, dude, is it true that you backside flip the 14 like for some kid's birthday party? And I was like, kinda.
Like he was entertainment. that they hired
I
for the
guess
birthday.
so. Like it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I want to get this trick. It's on a Saturday. I promised these kids to take them skating, but I kind of want to shoot this thing. So Jeff Taylor met me there to shoot the photo. Someone else, I don't know who filmed it.
Wow.
But we met there, and I think I did that. And I remember the board was not feeling good because we were skating those other spots, and it was like too steep.
Okay.
Like the concave, like I should have paid attention to the board I grabbed, but it was so concaved that it was really hard to flip and catch because it's just too steep.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
For sure.
And so like I was like, I don't know if this is gonna happen, but if it does, it better be quick. So I think I remember trying it a few times. I think I did like 6 try.
Wow.
So that's probably an average like
Yeah.
thing. I mean, it came pretty quick, I guess, but
Did the kids cheer?
Yeah, were they stoked?
I think they didn't know what to think. I don't.
They're like, cool birthday party.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. I think they were maybe excited to see it go down.
Right.
And then it was kind of like, okay, what are we
What do
doing
do?
next?
Yeah.
Damn,
That's so
yeah.
funny.
Thanks
bro.
for the detour, but where are we
Yeah,
going?
where are we going next? Yeah.
Wow. Dude, hey, one thing that we need to talk about, though, too, because this shit that you're doing right now, the new line skate parks,
Yeah.
is incredible because you actually design. We have a picture there behind Kelly, too. We have you actually
Man.
design these skate parks. And what do you work in? You work in a 3D CAD computer?
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything. So, like, I think after the Earth thing, same thing happened. A lot of restructuring. K2 was coming down on those guys. They were having problems. Jeff Taylor was like, dude, it's kind of the beginning of the end. That's when they combined Rhythm and Planet Earth all together.
Right.
And some people made it, some people didn't. He was like, dude, you're going to be better off going somewhere else. And probably months later after that, that thing collapsed.
Yeah.
But yeah, couldn't really seem to find a really good fit for myself. And I think also that's coming into like 2003 and then 2004. And I'm like, dude, I've already done everything I want to do. Like, how much more am I going to do? I remember running into Art Osari years before that. We were at some like demo thing and he had just dropped his first part, I think. And I remember we were hanging out and he was telling me the same thing. Like, dude, I just almost like died, like backlipping this 18-stair rail or whatever. Like, what's next?
Yeah.
You know, so I was like thinking about that, like that whole thought process. Like, did we do too much too fast, or what do we do to one up each other at a
Right.
certain level? Like, you know, backside flip El Toro. I mean, you know, like you start hearing things like that. Like, oh, you should go do that. And I was like, no, not really. Like, I'm just don't care. Like, I don't really need to do that. Like, I think you just get to that point where like I'm gonna start being interested in looking at things from a different perspective. At some level, at some point, you're gonna just think differently. And I just kind of was like, I don't know if I really want to go through reinventing myself again to find another good fit again.
Right.
And so I had that conversation with like Osiris and like, you know what, we're changing up. There had a whole new people coming on. Ollie Bilala got on, and Clint Peterson, and
So when Chris
Diego,
Pastras came in and
Chris
started,
Pastras. So I was still on, and we dropped another video, Subject to Change,
Yep.
which was a cool video.
Yeah.
And I had some decent stuff in there, but I think after that was probably 2003. By the time 2004, 5 rolled around, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to start thinking about other things.
Right.
And I didn't know what. But I looked online, I started searching careers, and I was like, let me do something totally different than skateboarding. Let me like think about something that is going to challenge me mentally, just to change it up for a bit. I can go back to the industry and try to do that whole thing if I want to. But so I looked at where I was living at was in Chula Vista, where Tommy Sandoval's out of.
Yep.
I moved down there from other parts of San Diego when I bought my first house. It was just way more reasonable. I could never buy a house from scratch there now. That's for, I mean, who's going to buy a house anywhere at this
It's
point?
crazy.
The
Yeah,
market's
yeah.
so crazy.
Psycho.
Got in at the right time. Listen to Mayhew talking about doing the right things with your money. Invest in the house. Don't invest in the car. You know, a lot of people were buying crazy stuff back then. And,
I'm sure.
you know, Casper got a Navigator with a PlayStation in it. Hit the brakes. The thing caught on fire. It just got decimated
Oh,
after
wow.
3 months. Lost all that money.
Those things were humongous. Those
Yeah.
Lincoln Navigators.
Yeah, it was a big. And I was like, Josh, like, don't get the Navigator. Get like even a condo or something.
Sure.
And then you're gonna make. Dude, when I bought my first house, in the first 4 weeks, I got a phone call from my bank, and I was like, oh, dude, the gig is up.
Uh-oh.
Like, you know, like this is too good to be true. Because I'm looking at my neighborhood, and I'm like, I don't belong here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just a skater. Like, I don't belong in a 3,000 square foot home.
Yeah,
you know?
do. Yeah.
But in my mind, I mean, I didn't grow up in a house. My parents never had a house. So it was like uncomfortable, you know? And so when the bank called me, I was like, okay, something happened, the loan. It was something, I probably didn't fill out the form right, or I really didn't qualify. I thought I did. And they're like, oh, no, we just want to tell you you've already made, you know, $40,000 in equity. Do you want to use it? And I was like, in 4 weeks?
Wow.
I was like, no, I'm good. Let's just, it's like Vegas.
Let's
I'm going to let it ride.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it ride.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Josh, you know, you could buy property and just let it, you know, roll. And he's just, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to, you know, that was just the mentality. Like, you come from nothing. You want to like prove that you have something. So people are buying, you know, expensive jewelry and cars. And
Yeah.
I remember Shiloh was giving Mayhew a hard time at a trade show. Like, yo, Mayhew, with all that D3 money, what you driving? And he was like, oh, like a 4Runner. He's like, give me your money. I'll go buy you a real car. You know? I mean, that was just the thing. It's like, you got the money, go show you got the money, you know? And Dave was just, he's like, nah, I'm good. And I think he was already thinking ahead, like, this may not last forever.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And he was just saying that, how hard it was to write those checks to the IRS.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
They want their money.
You know, so it's like he's looking at like, okay, number one, this may not be forever. Number two, I got to write these crazy checks. We all had to, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, me too.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, we're trying to think of like the future, not just right
Sure.
now.
Sure. Which is smart.
Yeah.
In
I mean,
skateboarding and everything.
best advice he ever gave me was to invest in property. That's for sure. I was glad I listened to him because it was tempting, right? It's like, oh, you know, but what about this?
Right.
You know, chasing the shiny object, you know. But it was a good thing that we did that. And but yeah, he lost a lot of money on that, and I think a lot of people just thought it was never going to end. And then when
Sure.
it did end, it's like, okay, now what? You know.
Right.
So I kind of like had the house, and I was able to use that to help bankroll my whole next thing, like going back to school and just kind of using that to help fund my next career.
Okay. Yeah.
sick.
So I went back to school. I actually interned at the city of Chula Vista and kind of saw a lot of stuff that they did with the engineering department and architects and inspectors and surveyors. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be more into this surveying, engineering kind of world. And I did that for a while. And while I was there, an engineering company approached me and said, hey, how do you like working for the city? I was like, oh, I don't work here. I'm just an intern. I'm still like skateboarding profession. I'm kind of phasing out. And at some point I kind of like, the city's like, oh, we can pay you as an intern. And I was like, well, maybe this is it. And so I just kind of jumped. And I was like, you know, let's just do a final board. I did this like collage board. It's somewhere around here. And it was just kind of like a farewell thing. Transworld covered it, and a lot of people
Sick.
were there. And I was like, well, I guess once you're a pro skater, you're kind of always pro. But, you know, it's just like, look, I'm not going to be competing. I'm not going to be having a pro board and a shoe. And I was like, let's just transition out of that and into this thing. And I just went all in, just like in skateboarding. You know, it's like you're starting at the bottom. You're learning your tricks.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm just learning. I just wanted to be a student. So they're like, oh, you should come work for us. And I was like, no, I got a lot to learn.
Right.
Like, I don't want to come there and you be expecting me to just be this wizard and, you know, CAD drafting and all this stuff. Like, I'm just learning it all. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, we'll help pay for your schooling. We have training. And they're just coming for an interview. So I went to an interview. I showed them my resume, which isn't looking all that impressive with skateboarding for like the past 12 years. As a
pro shoe.
Defcon 1, Defcon 2.
Anybody heard of Defcon? Or, you know.
Wrote for a lot of board companies here.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, I don't think this is.
Here's my big brother cover.
Yeah. They're like, Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I literally was trying to talk them out of it. I was like, I don't think this is what you're looking for. I know you saw me at the city, but I don't
Reverse
think.
psychology. I love it.
Yeah. And they're like, no, and I was like, okay, I need to make this amount of money just to be able to take care of my family. Like, okay, done. I was like, what? Like, how are these guys?
That's how it works.
How are
This
these
is
guys
the city
not getting
of San
shook?
Diego or like
No,
Chula
this
Vista?
was the other engineering company.
Yeah, the engineering company offered me a job to pull me away from the city.
Okay.
And so they're like full time, you know, working for private developers and mapping out all these big developments, which happen to be even where I lived. Like they're like mapping out and doing all these development plans for neighborhoods. Like the house that I bought, they did the plans for, and I remember like getting the plan. I was like, oh, this is kind of sick, you know, seeing my lot and the property or whatever. But yeah, so I worked for them for maybe a couple of years.
Okay.
And then Mike McIntyre, who had Site Design Group going at the time, he was the one who had done all those Arizona parks. he came in and did the OB park with us and started doing all the other California parks. And he just had a big portfolio at the time. And I remember when I was younger as a kid, we were advocating for that Ocean Beach skate park for like 9 years.
Damn.
I mean, we were going to like meetings and we were going to parades and doing all kinds of stuff, just promoting the park. It was like starting at like 14, 15 years old all the way until I was pro. Because I remember on the cover of the paper, the local paper of the park opening, I remember I had a Planet Earth hoodie on. So that's how long it took to get that. And he was the designer that came in. And we're like, oh, we know him. We know the Arizona parks. Like, we need that here. Because at the time, we had nothing. I think they had Temecula, which is awful. Still awful.
It's far away, too.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And so I was like, someone who actually gets it, yeah, that's sick. So we worked with him. There were some issues with it because there weren't a lot of great skate park contractors at the time. And there were some problems they had with some of it. We actually designed a little skate plaza out in front that kind of would have been the first skate plaza. And we try to make it feel more like EMB. And the city of San Diego was like, nope, not happening. Everything needs to be inside the fence. And I was like, oh. And then they did these little tide pool things. Like
That park's hard for me personally.
Work.
That park's hard to skate.
Because it got rough.
Yeah, it's like really rough cement for sure.
So what happened is the contractors were like hosing it down with water to give them more time to finish the concrete. But you don't do that because when it cures, the water will pop. It'll pop that creamy layer off the top.
Oh,
so Mike had actually rejected the park. I saw the letter many years later. And the city's like, nope, we're good.
Oh, they're just like, we're going to go through
we're just going to go with it.
Oh.
And so it just deteriorated over years. And it just, But the funny thing is, if you talk to the locals, I was like, yo, how about we talk about redoing this a bit and like updating it and maybe, fixing the finish. Like, no, don't touch it. We like it, harsh like this.
Yeah.
So, go figure. Sentimental probably, or just
one man's trash is another man's trash.
It's like
grown into what it's
a really rough transitional type of like park there. You know what I mean?
Probably feels a little DIY-ish.
Yeah.
There you go.
The locals
There
there
you go.
fuck that place up, dude.
They rule there. I mean, if you go, every time I go there, I'll see Neil Blender, I'll see Hewitt, I'll see Chris Coogan, who
so
just
rad.
annihilates that place. I mean, those guys.
Yeah.
Lefty and all those dudes.
Dude.
They run that place.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when it first opened, like Shuriken was like the little kid.
Shuriken Shannon, dude.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
and he had like
sick,
the little
man.
baby fro, and I was like, look at these little kids. And then they just all keep growing up to being pro skateboarders. Every time I turn around, I was like, oh, Shuriken, I don't know about these kids aren't gonna make it. They all became good pro skateboarders. Him, Wes, Mario.
They all made it.
Tyler, they all made it.
Jimmy Carlin came out of San Diego
Yep,
too.
I remember Jimmy. He was in Coronado. Yeah.
I was tripping on Shuriken because he had that black label part that was just unreal.
It was really good.
So good, and like that was really dope to see.
Sometimes I run into OG spots in those neighborhoods, and it's still like, well, can't do that. Shuriken already murdered that spot. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's
and
tight.
but it's a pride thing because he came from OB where I grew up,
Right.
and he's a skater of color, which is like kind of a big deal because we got a lot of heat growing up there from the cops.
Oh, really?
I mean, me and OJ and this kid Jamin, who was kind of mixed and light skin like me, we were getting rolled up on a regular. It was bad.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my mom was really fed up with the tickets and the harassment. That's why we advocated for the skate park. Is like, we need a place for these kids. These cops are harassing them, and like she's like, I'm not trying to call white privilege out, but where are these other kids getting harassed? You know what I mean? And it was kind of true. Like, I felt like we were getting singled out a bit to the point where I remember one day we were skating down the street, got rolled up by the cops, got a ticket for skating in the street because we were crossing from driveway to driveway. And then later at my house, I remember like we were giving each other the high fades and dyeing our hair and just being crazy. And we rolled back out and went the other direction and got rolled up by the same cop. And he's like, man, are you guys trying to roll disguises or something up in here? Like 1 minute I see you one way and another minute you guys have haircuts and you're dyeing your hair. Are you trying to be incognito and disguise yourselves and get out of getting tickets or something? I was like, dude, you're tripping. You know
like
what
you're
I mean?
skating, dude. What are you?
Yeah, he was just
what are you
like,
worried about?
he was just totally targeting us. We just had bullseyes on our back. And that was just that neighborhood. It's like you hear about people running in a neighborhood and the cops always out to get you. It's just how it was.
Yep.
And I remember one night I was walking some girl home, and these all these instances were like within 5 blocks from my house. So I was walking this girl home. It was at night. I don't think I even had my skateboard with me, but I had the skate gear on, which obviously, pretty much makes you guilty they're suspicious anyway, right? So cops roll up on me, code red, flashlights, guns, you know, hand on the holster, like, yo, freeze, you know. And I was like, what? And they're like, you know, we need to pat you down, we need to search you. And they're like searching me, and I can't remember what I had in there. It might have been just like some candy or something, like, I don't know, lifesavers or something like that. And the guy was like, he said, pull out what you have in your pocket slowly. And I was like, dude, I have nothing in here that's dangerous. So I was like, started to pull it out, and he slapped my hand. He's like, don't pull it out. You could have a gun in there. And I was like, so then he pulls it out, and he's like, ooh, that was close. And I was like, dude, what is going on? And then the girl I was with was just lighting him up. You know, you guys suck, you know, F you, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this all about, dude? He's like, well, you know, you fit the description of someone who, you know, did this heist down the street. I was like, oh, I'm sure I do. You know what I mean? Like, but it just, those kind of things happen a lot to me and OJ. And, you know, I mean, OJ, of course, that's when he got to sit down. Like, you need to chill out, because sometimes he would mouth off at the cop and be like, you know, one time same thing happened, like, you know, pull out what's in your pocket. And he had some like a lot of cash in his pocket. Even I was like, wait, what?
It's my $30,000 check.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I don't think I'm getting that much money. You know what I mean? Like, but he pulled out the money, and the cop's like, where'd you get that money? And OJ's like, what, I can't have money because I'm black? And the guy's like, what are you trying to say? He's like, well, what do you think? I just cashed my welfare check? And the guy's like, okay, buddy, we, you know, what are you trying to say, that we're racist? We can't be racist. We're cops. And everyone started laughing, dude. We were dying. And it does
that makes so much sense.
But those kind of things happen a lot, where they were just delusional,
right?
And just in the moment, just targeting dudes who just fit the description. You know, we just got that a lot, and a lot of people don't know that. A couple of times we're with people who kind of got, like, I remember one time we were with Neil Mims, who's been on the show. Big fan of Neil.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. I remember it was me and OJ, maybe someone else, and Neil, and we were just got done skating. We were tired. We were hungry. It was in Encinitas. It was that Denny's right over there.
Oh, yeah.
We went in, and the lady pulled Neil aside, went away, and then came back. And Neil's like, we're out of here. Let's get the hell out of here. And I was like, what? He's like, she doesn't want to serve you guys. She wants you guys to pay first.
Wow.
And I was like, and OJ was like shockingly calm. And I was like waiting for him to like throw a chair through a window or something. And I was like, yo, I guess we out. He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I'm so hungry. I can't even deal with this. And like, I went home and told my parents about it. And they were like, dude, we could own Denny's right now. You know what I mean? I was like, let's not even, it's not even worth it.
Damn.
But, you know, sometimes people would see it. And that was, you know, in the 90s, you know, but like sometimes things, you know, go full circle, just like we were talking about. Like some things that change are sometimes the same.
They never change. No,
sometimes they
no
never
doubt.
change, you know?
No
like
doubt.
people just have to understand that, you know, sometimes we had to overcome a lot of things too that maybe normal people don't. It was like, you're a skater and you're colored. I mean, with me, like, they didn't know what I was looking like. I mean, my daughters love these stories, you know? They're like, oh, Dad's so funny. Like, my friends don't know. Are you Mexican? Are you Middle Eastern? And but yeah, so as a skateboarder, you know, people just didn't know what to think. You know, I remember being at the park with my two daughters, and this lady who lived right by, you know, the same park, one day she just asked me, she's like, you know, I always see you over here with your daughters, and, you know, during the week, and, you know, what do you do for a living that you can actually be here and doing this all the time? And I didn't even want to say it, you know, and I was like, well, I skateboard for a living. And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I skateboard, and, you know, when I'm not on tour and doing all this other stuff, I'm here with the kids, but I promise you it is hard. Like, we actually do work, like, we pay our dues, you know what I mean?
Right.
And she was like, I can't believe it. Me and my husband work full-time jobs. We bust our ass. And you're telling me that you're flying around, playing around your skateboard, and your wife doesn't even work? And that's what you're doing here? She got her kids, left, went into her house, and I never saw her again. She never would come. If I was at the park, she would never come out.
What the?
She was so offended. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
But that happens, right? Like, people just like, I can't believe that you guys actually do this for a living. So now, fast forward to what I do now, it's the same thing. Like, you're flying around the world still. Well, and actually, I was like, I want to get into this so I don't have to travel as much. And now I'm traveling just as much as I was before. But, you know, I'm flying around. People are always asking, like, oh, what do you do? And I'm telling them, I was like, wait, you can do that for a living? And, you know, I was like, I know.
Dude, you're building skate parks all over the country.
I was like, we do work, I promise. Like, it's a lot of work.
Right.
But they
It's
just
what a fucking insult, though. At the end of
they
the
just
day, it's like,
can't-
how are you even approaching me like this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have no idea. You know what I mean? Like,
And there's people that I've had to kind of get a little snap. I was like, hey, dude, like you have to snap back sometimes, and other times when it doesn't work out that well, you're like, you know what, I'm just wasting my time. These people aren't gonna get it. I mean, but if you can just like break down those barriers by just showing, like, yeah, you can do this, you can make a living doing this, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, what color you are. Yeah, like, come be a pro skateboarder, come be a designer, come be a graphic artist, or whatever it is you want to do. Like, there's opportunities out there, and like a lot of kids don't know that because they think like, hey, I don't live, like I was saying, I didn't come from a house, I don't come from money, I don't have an education. It's like, dude, don't let that hold you back. That skater mentality. Like, if you keep at it and you keep going at it, you can make it. But if you're just gonna throw in the towel, I mean, a lot of people have asked me like, hey, how do I get to do what you're doing? Like other pro skateboarders, I was like, dude, I'll show you the ropes.
Right.
This is what I did. So I went back to school. Stop right there.
I gotta go to school.
Yeah.
I can't just jump in.
Yeah, we're done.
What?
They would be like, wait, I thought you just started designing parks. I was like, with what skills, dude? Like, I had to learn how to do this, this, and this. I named all the programs, and like, we're good.
What's a program you use? A 3D program?
I mean, a lot of stuff we do is with Autodesk, like AutoCAD.
Okay.
We'll do the line work in it. Sometimes we'll model in AutoCAD. Some people use SketchUp.
Okay.
But
SketchUp is cool.
Yeah, SketchUp's like a really easy program. But with AutoCAD, if you're modeling in it, it's just more precision. And then once you have the model, you can do a lot more with it. You can cut the sections. And I mean, some of the stuff is pretty detailed.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, a skate park is detailed,
Yeah,
right?
it really
You can't
is.
just make a quarter pipe. The dimensions have to be perfect. The rails have to be. I mean, size matters.
I mean,
Let's just be
speaking of
honest.
dimensions,
Nightclub out of context. You know what to do.
speaking of dimensions, I was still waiting for those dimensions on those curbs.
Listen,
That
what's
We need to make a.
when I was working on the Edison Park you guys talked about in the show, I was like, yo, Raj, did you give Ken those dimensions? And I was watching it just laughing. And I was like, dude, I never did get those.
Because you hit
dimensions
me up
from the Venice
You hit me
curbs.
up on
Yeah.
DM saying like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I need. What are the dimensions of the Venice curbs?
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know. Just go ask Bill Gungary or something.
Yeah, and I was like, Raj probably knows. I don't know. And then
But I did. I hit up Tim.
okay.
And he, of course, well, actually, I hit up Krager first.
Oh.
Because I saw that Tim,
They
were
have their
working
own
on-
curb over there.
Yeah, they have their own spots.
Oh, I know. Yeah, well, that's what happened. So I saw the stuff that you guys were doing at the curbs here and the
Yeah.
other curbs. And so I hit you up because I was like, oh, he's hit it up so many times. He probably knows about what the dimensions, or maybe he can go get them. And then I hit up Krager and I was like, yo, I'm watching all the stuff you're doing. And a lot of people are asking for curbs and skate parks.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just want more. And then everyone pointed me to Tim. And Tim had so much information. He just unloaded on me.
Yeah.
All these ideas and sharing me photos. So that was really helpful. And
sick.
and
Big
really,
shape curb soon.
yep.
Wait, you said you went there today and did you measure them?
I went out there today. Yeah, I was like, oh, look, I'm not gonna get it. I'm just gonna get it myself. So I went out there, but you know what? The key thing that Chris, you did tell me was that just make it fun.
Yeah.
You're like, look, don't worry about the dimension. Just make sure it's like a fun size and dimensions. And that's what we did. We're like, okay, let's just make sure it's like fun and it's functional.
Well, like we were saying before, like a 6-inch curb is way different than a 5.5-inch curb.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, our millimeters on our wheels
True.
count.
It really
From a
does.
53 to a 52. Huge difference. It's a millimeter. It's like a grain of rice.
100%.
It matters.
Big
So
time.
so when we were doing that park at Edison Park in Huntington Beach, it's the thing was they had a really small budget. They didn't want to go out to bid because it would get really complicated, lots of red tape. I mean, there's a reason why Huntington Beach hasn't done another public skate park in all these years. It's really hard, because a lot of people say, no, we don't want it in our backyard,
Yeah.
or let's spend money over here. But, I mean, with all the skate culture these communities have, they deserve something.
Sure.
Yeah.
How many tennis courts do we have in
There you go.
these areas? You
How
know
many
what I mean?
golf courses do we got?
Yeah, and how many
Yeah.
people are playing at the golf courses? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
you don't see like 16-year-olds like saying, "Hey, I got to get to that golf course." It's just not happening.
Well,
In
now
fact-
more so than ever, that I think that's changing.
Yeah,
a little
and I
bit.
mean, there's projects where they're removing the golf course.
Yeah.
Oh.
And saying, "Let's put some stuff in here."
Okay.
Low income housing.
Man,
Well,
imagine a golf course paved over with all the hips and the
Oh,
lumps
wow.
It could
Yeah.
be.
and the sand pits.
Go
and
visit
stuff.
Danny Way's
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
What is it? Does he have a golf course that's cemented over?
I don't think so. I did
No.
talk to Danny. I mean, we did meet with Danny about the stuff when he was doing the Hawaii thing back when I was still at Site Design Group. We met with him, and Danny has a lot of skaters have good ideas. you
Yeah,
know?
for
And
sure.
they know what they want. I remember so recently I'm also working with Jake Johnson, who is.
Amazing.
Has he been on this?
No.
he's
Oh,
Yeah,
we would
he probably needs to
love
be
to
on
have
the
Jake
show.
Johnson
Love
on.
to have Jake.
Yeah, Jake
Please.
is. He's always so elusive and kind of mysterious.
Totally.
He's a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and every time you see footage of him, you kind of just want to see more kind of guy,
Hell yeah.
And so I knew all about him. And then when I knew he was involved with this project, it was like, man, what are we going to... I don't really know much about this guy. I can't imagine. He's probably must be meticulous. And he is. He's very meticulous, really smart. His dad was a professor for landscape architecture.
Oh wow.
And so he kind of knew what was up on some things. And the sketches he was doing and showing me were really good.
Sick.
Oh wow.
So he was showing me all these ideas and things spots he had skated, and he was sending me photos and video clips, grabs, and sending me kind of a whole little kit he put together to show what
Amazing.
he was thinking. So I was like, dude, that's what's up.
That's
Sick.
Yeah.
fucking
Wow.
rad.
So
man.
we worked a lot of that, and I was just trying to help. The biggest challenge I had, and a lot of people have, is scale.
Yes.
Your first instinct is put everything you can into it. Yeah, every favorite spot you've ever rode, just put it into one place.
Right.
And it just doesn't fit. Imagine how much room it takes to skate the Venice curbs. I mean,
It
how much
takes a
space
lot of
is around
pushing
there?
room, and
Right.
just for one curb, you got to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
So-
lot of,
so
Comfortable for
imagine-
everybody.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so imagine like a quarter pipe in front of it and
Yep.
something else next to
Oh
it.
my
You'd
God,
feel so
right.
crammed.
I'd be like,
You would
"Yo,
never show
put a
up again."
fucking quarter pipe right next to the curb.
Exactly.
Who designed this thing?
Yeah.
Shit.
100%.
Kanten, I got to get on the phone with you.
That Edison Park, it's so simple and spread out that it looks even more fun that way.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Like
need
you-
you need room.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were recreating. I mean, someone talked about that. I think it was Steve Size, right? He was
Mm-hmm.
talking about EMB, and he didn't realize how big it was. Like, it was all spread out, and the
Sure.
scale. People don't realize that. I tell everyone this is like, go watch. If you think you want more in there, go watch a video and watch all the room that happens when people are skating these spots, because there's all this pushing, there's compression, there's the pop, there's like
Mm-hmm.
grinding, especially if you're Chris grinding 20, 30 feet long.
You better have a 45-foot curb.
45
ledge in
foot
there.
minimum, and then you're landing, you're coming up again,
Yep.
you're pushing. I mean, that's like 800 feet.
It's
But dude,
true.
think
It's
about
true.
Love Park.
Yeah, a lot of room.
Dude, that's a lot of room when they
Pulaski,
Pulaski.
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's an open plaza
That's
with just a
very
few
open.
things in it, and people love it.
But I trip out that Love Park was designed by someone that didn't skate, that built it absolutely perfect for skateboarding.
Totally.
That is a wild thing, because it's
true.
almost even hard to imagine. I guess you can imagine it now. Obviously, a skateboarder designing that, right?
But it's also, you could say that about the West LA courthouse,
Yeah,
you know, and all
totally.
the ledges there, and like
Yeah.
so many of these iconic spots
They were
that
made
were
for
built
skateboarding.
that
It's a
were not
great
made.
place to have a sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, to
Yeah.
sit
Yeah.
down and just pop,
Yeah,
and just post up.
And
Yeah.
sure. And that's it. That's what we're trying. So when I came into it, I was like, how do we create everything I grew up seeing and skating in the 90s, or places we traveled to in the early 2000s? How do we recreate Barcelona? You know, how do we
Yes.
recreate the OG EMB, you know? And I just try to help people explain, like, when you think you have too much in there, it's better just to start with like a less is more direction, and you can always add it in later. But if you put too much in there, it just ruins
You got to
it.
blow
It's
the whole
lost,
thing.
for sure.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. So how long have you been doing the new Line Skateparks?
So I got into designing skate parks back with the Mike McIntyre site. That was 16, 17 years ago now.
17 years
I mean,
ago.
time's flying.
How many
Wow.
parks have we built so far?
I feel like I'm approaching like 300.
Are you serious? You
Yeah.
built 300 parks? Bro,
Dude.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Congratulations.
That's
incredible.
incredible.
300 parks.
I know, it's crazy.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh God, I knew you were gonna
Number
ask
45.
There's got to be one park you like.
that.
I nailed it.
Everybody I've ever worked with is like gonna be like, what's he gonna say? Okay, I'll say this. The one that meant a lot to me, it wasn't necessarily my favorite park for the way it skated,
Uh-huh.
but one of the first ones I ever worked on was in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And the first time I actually met with them was like the first week I actually started working, doing the job for skate park stuff. Mike sent me out there, and it was my first meeting. It was in a city council room, so it was like really formal, and it was packed. And I was like, dude, I wasn't ready for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're just tapping into like, okay, I can do this. I'm a skateboarder. You know what I mean? Like, I can handle this.
Yeah.
And I just remember talking to them, trying to be like really just matter of factual, just common sense stuff. And some lady showed up because it was televised, like local television. She showed up and said, look, I was watching this on TV and I was listening to what you're saying about how they need a skate park. And I had to come down here and tell you how this is ridiculous. You know, like we had a skate park. It didn't work. Some girl got beat up.
Dang.
Wow.
But I was like, well, where was it?
Mm.
And she's like, well, it was in this industrial area. I was like, well, that's the problem. Like, everyone wants to put skateboarders out in the middle of nowhere where you can't see them. They're not a part of the community. Out in the middle of, you know, hidden behind buildings. Of course, people are going to smash bottles and get crazy out there.
Right.
It's not
So,
safe.
no, it's terrible. Like, I wouldn't even want to hang out there at night. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what were they even doing there at night? They weren't skateboarders, I can tell you that. So, like, if you put them in the right place where it's visible and you design it the right way where people actually like it because they're giving you their ideas and you listen to them and then give something that works, that's going to be a successful skate park. And everyone just, like, stood up, standing ovation. That lady sat down and never said a word.
No
I was
way.
Like, I was like, oh, I guess I can do this.
Yeah.
It was just, like, using common sense and, like, keeping it simple. And it worked out. So that park was pretty cool.
That was your first one.
that was my
So that
first
meant a
one.
lot to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you designed it and you're like on site every day making sure everything's getting built, or
Not every day. We would fly out to do special inspections.
Okay.
So in between, they'd send us photos, and then we'd come out and look at the certain stages and making
And
sure
how
it
does
was
this
good.
how does this work? Just really quick, run me through it, because like if you're in St. Paul, or Cloud, where was
St.
this?
Cloud, Minnesota.
St. Cloud, Minnesota, and you get the bid, you're gonna build the skate park. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna build beautiful. How what's a big skate park? 14,000 square feet.
I mean, anything over 20,000 is big.
20,000 square foot.
So that one was 23.
23,000
Oh, wow.
square
Big.
foot park, right? Now, are you hiring just regular like contractors to come in and build? And what concrete do you want to use? And it seems like there's a
So,
lot that would go into that.
There's a lot. And there's a lot can go wrong.
Exact-
And there has a lot that has gone wrong.
Exactly.
So when I started out, the first companies I worked with were just design only. And then we put it out to bid, but we put in our qualifications that the builder has to use a contractor that has experience. And here's
But how many
here's some of the
contractors have experience?
Well, there's more.
Well, now there's 300
now there's
more, for
Well,
sure. We know
I mean,
that.
in the beginning, I would say there's probably like maybe 5, and now
Okay.
there's probably like 15.
Okay.
So it's growing,
There
you
you
know?
go.
Within
um,
each area.
I mean,
It
well,
depends.
well, actually, most people fly. Like a lot of people, there's like 3 companies in like Washington State. There's quite a few in California, obviously.
So
There's
they
some of the East Coast. They fly to all these
They
projects.
fly out to the project and then work with probably the local construction company
Sometimes,
to get
or-
the concrete right and get
Yes.
all everything
Right.
Okay. Okay. Metal, like what kind of coping you're using, what kind of metal, quarter pipe stuff, everything.
So we tell them very specifically what to use.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, then we can say, hey, you didn't use the right metal, so it's rejected.
Oh.
Or
What does
or-
rejected mean? They need to rebuild it?
Yeah, rip it out and redo it.
Oh,
at their cost.
They don't want to
At
do
their
that.
cost.
They don't want to do that.
Well, you would think that.
but they fuck up enough to do so.
Yes.
Damn.
And so that's what's so brutal is in the beginning, it was eye-opening to how bad some contractors out there, what they were trying to get away with.
Right.
And I would warn them. I was like, look, I'm just warning you. These plans are really specific. There's a lot of tolerances in here. I mean, when I first started, the plans were like 10 pages.
Oh,
Now they're
wow.
like 40. Because
Seriously?
we've had to get that much better at spelling
Okay.
it out.
Oh,
They're so
yeah.
detailed.
You have to
Right.
be detailed, yeah.
Yeah, number one for making sure that the height and the angle of the curbs are correct for Chris.
Hey.
And number two, making sure that we have defensible information in there where if the quarter pipe radius is off or the heights are, I mean, I've seen some bad stuff.
I can
mean,
imagine that a contractor is just being like, it's just a skate park.
Oh, it's gonna
We're
be
just
all
gonna
right.
do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, we'll just do
They'll
the thing.
pass it.
40 pages. Chuck, just go in there and trowel it.
That's right. And
Yeah.
especially the hardcore contractors in other states where it's like the good old boys. I remember being on site in, I think it was Idaho, and they built the hubble ledge where I think it was supposed to be 2 feet at the bottom to come off, like 2 feet at top, 2 feet at bottom. It was like 4 feet at the bottom. And I was like, you do know that when some kid actually makes it to the bottom of this thing, he's just gonna like fly off of this thing and die. I was like, how do you think this dimension's even close? And the site foreman was arguing with me. His job was to be a pit bull.
Oh my God.
He was just old school, just arguing, yelling. He's red in the face. And I was just listening, and I was like, you done? I was like, it's rejected. You know what I mean? Like you just have to like stick to the facts.
Right.
Like, I'm calling the shot.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
you can tell me all you want to, but I'm telling you, number one, it's clear this isn't even close.
Mm-hmm.
It's rejected.
He's like, what? I'm an ollie over this thing. You watch me. Ken gets up there
Yeah.
and ollies the whole thing.
So the owner was there, and by the second or third time the guy argued, he's like, stop. You're done. You're wrong. This guy's right. It's clear in the plans. We messed up. Rip it out and redo it.
Wow. Good shit.
And so it's a full-time job, man. You have to really police that. And there are some people out there who just like, it's good enough.
Right.
And I have a hard time with that because a lot of people do design and build their own projects. We do that with New Line.
Okay.
We design and build projects also, but sometimes we design and they go out to bid because in California they don't do a lot of design build. In some states they don't allow it.
Oh.
So you have to work with other contractors. So that's why we just make our plans really, really tight.
Got you.
But in the case where some people design and build it, there are a lot of people out there who kind of blow it and like, oh, we kind of lost the concrete, but we made it work.
Right. You're like,
But it's
no.
like people are paying like $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand that people make mistakes. We make mistakes, you know what I mean? But like, don't walk away from a job and leave it like that, because for me, it's like you're doing a disservice for all the skateboarders who are expecting something quality for all the work and money that, they're fundraising,
Right.
they're advocating. I mean, it's just really frustrating for them to have to like say, oh, this is what we're getting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, them trying to build they build a big, extravagant $1 million fountain, but
Right.
it leaks.
Right.
You're going to fix this leak?
That's it.
no.
Yeah,
You're
you're
going
right.
to go? You're going to
It
let
works.
the water drain out.
I mean, I use that example all the time. I was like, there's no way that someone's putting in a tennis court and leaving it like not level or like
Right.
like lifted so people trip over it. And I use the same thing you shared, Chris. Like, our wheels are so detailed that we're talking millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling me that this is good enough, then say hello to the liability lawsuit coming right after this.
There you go.
Because it's not going to fly. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. It's just doing a disservice. I mean, thank God that you're there to,
Yeah.
get these parks built and make sure that they're doing it right.
Trying.
So I applaud you for that. Thank you so much
I appreciate
for
it.
building all those parks.
1,000%.
How long does it take to build one park? The plans, not the construction. How long does it take you to make the?
Design, if it's
you
maybe
whip
a
one up?
smaller park, it could be like 6 months. Sometimes it
Okay.
takes a year
Okay,
because the
okay.
city agency might be kind of slow.
Right.
Like we all know
But
the
if-
city process is a little
But
bit
if you
slow.
know, okay, I have the X amount of room, how quickly can you get a park designed on?
Oh, just a rough design?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, sometimes 15 minutes.
Oh wow.
Just like a quick sketch.
No. I mean, like literally,
Oh, all detailed out.
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
I
this is
mean,
what it's going to look like.
those pictures over
Yeah.
there.
Oh
Yeah.
Those renderings over there.
I mean, it's a process, like it's like layers, It's like, okay, let's start off with the quick sketch.
Right.
And sometimes, like for the park we did in Escondido that opened up, you've seen clips of that, the Escondido one? It's like, it's got the bank to curb. I know Skate Mafia did a whole bunch of stuff there. And
There's so many
I'm
parks
trying to
around.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
insane.
clips I see on there. But anyways, that one's kind of a smaller, like we call that more of a skate spot. It's like 7,500 square feet. So
Okay.
the original sketch I did real quick pretty much was the design.
Really?
And sometimes it happens where you can really move through it quick.
Oh.
But then you have to submit the plans and they have to review it. And then you're getting into grading and drainage and all the infrastructure that you don't see. That's the part that takes a while.
Gotcha.
So even if you have a design kind of worked out that the kid's like, that's it, that's the one, the rest of it takes a while.
For sure.
So I always say, like, try to give us at least 6 to 12
a
months.
year, yeah.
And then it's going to, for a build, maybe 3, 4, or 5 months.
Okay, that's not
But
too
for
bad.
a big one,
Right.
It could be
Double,
a
triple
year.
that.
Exactly.
I always because there's always been talk about redoing the old park here, the Venice spot. I always would
Can you
love.
get down there right now and help redo it?
Yeah, like
You
is
mean,
that it's
you mean
not
the
that-
one with all the bowls and everything?
No.
No,
I was to say, I'd be
Yeah.
get shot.
The
if I
original-
touched
The little
that
manual
Yeah,
pad
the
and
one
the
on
little.
the side.
There's
quarter
one
pipe.
outside of it that's super
thing.
small.
I've seen that. Yeah, I saw it today.
Because they got there was like that little spot where everyone was does the roller skating
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
next to it.
I saw that.
That got remodeled twice in the last like 3 years.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing about that spot, and I thought about this, and it ties in what we were talking about. So I rolled over there because I parked at the wrong parking lot, of course. And so I'm looking at the GPS, like, oh my God, I got to skate, miles to get to the curb and then come back and try to make it to the show on time before these guys think I'm flaky. You know what I mean? And so I passed through all that. I saw the spot, the skate park, but dude, there were a lot of people skating.
No, it's still
they kill it. They kill
still
the spot.
Yeah.
And so I already know what's going to happen. You go there for the meeting and like, okay, here's what we're going to do to change it. Like, don't touch it. You already know what's going to happen.
No, but
but the
locals-
ground is pretty, like, it's pitted.
Oh, just resurfacing. Oh, that's what you mean.
It could be adding on maybe here.
Yeah.
I
But
know
even
there's-
resurfacing the ground.
Yeah.
It's so pitted.
Yeah,
resurfacing would be great down there.
I think
And
that could be
adding onto it
done.
would be great too.
I think it could. I mean, you guys, here's what happens. And I've shared this with a lot of people on your show. A lot of people have hit me up and say, hey, what do I do to get a park going? I mean, God, there's so many. But yeah, I was telling the same thing. I was like, it has to come from people who live there. So like, you guys are legitimate residents
Yeah.
here. And you can totally just say, hey, go to city council, just meet someone from the park and rec or whatever. Say, hey, we love the skate scene here, but we got a lot of skaters who come here from all over the world, and we need to do better at providing a better facility for them. And the one skate park is killing it. That's great.
Yeah.
But I can give you numbers that show that there's probably needs to be 4 more of those based on how many people skate in.
Right.
I mean, shout out to the Skate Park Project because they have a lot of that information. And those formulas you can say, okay, based on the population, how many skaters there are, we need 4 parks at this size.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so Venice Beach, I can tell you right now, is way underserved.
Sure.
So it'd be really easy
We need at least
to
3 here.
Yeah, this is like
100%.
skateboard
minimum.
All on the beach.
But
Yeah.
everyone here, it's so skateboard friendly here that it's awesome. I wish there's so much history
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
It's
A lot of
unreal.
history.
So like,
I mean, you guys were talking about it, like the Jesse Martinez days and Krishna Soy skating the quarter pipes against the wall. I mean, those are things I saw.
Not only Tony Alva lived down
Right.
here in Venice.
I saw him on his bike just the other day.
There you go.
oh wow,
I mean, I think that it should be a no-brainer to be able to get more stuff done. It's just, but you were talking about it, like Jesse Martinez. I think he probably advocated for the park, and he's also obviously taking care of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to show these politicians is that, hey, look, they're not only going to get it in there, but they're going to take care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if someone comes in there and trashes that park, you know that Jesse and
skaters
other
are
people
gonna-
like that are going
yeah.
to take care of business.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean?
That's
yeah.
right.
It's what the West LA courthouse.
Yep, same
I
thing.
keep hearing that it's getting torn down. But the thing that sucks is there's not a lot of people taking care of it.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's I
That's
don't
the
know.
hard part.
The city's probably like, yo, what's
Yeah, there's more homeless there than there are skaters.
But you
Yeah.
know what, though? There's always been homeless people
There
there.
has
Ever
been.
since I've skated
That
that,
definitely has been.
there's always been that, for sure.
Not how it
but,
is
but
now,
you're
but-
not how it is now, but there is nobody taking care of it. I don't think it's an interesting spot, the
It is.
courthouse. It's different than Venice, I feel like,
Yeah.
in that sense.
it's a little out of the mix and not
Yeah.
when it comes to like obviously
Take care of your spots, kids.
yeah.
Well,
It's
that's what
true.
it is, though.
Yeah,
It's
you gotta
the
take care of it.
skaters not just throwing their trash in the bushes and this and that. It's like, when you're done kicking it and you have all your little trash and your water bottles and everything, put them in the trash can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Trash can's
clean
right over
it
there.
up, and then that
Even if it's not yours.
preserves the
Yeah.
spot. That's so simple.
It is.
Throw away your trash, see other shit, throw your.
I mean,
Spot's gonna last.
It
Yeah.
sounds simple, but I mean, even the skate park contractors, sometimes they're just, we have so many projects that are happening right now that there's not enough people coming in to do all the work. I mean, designers, builders, whatever. And what happens is that people start having B teams and C teams doing quality work, and they're not that great. And so we
Right.
show up with a company that knows better. And it's like, wait a minute. And the guy's like, I'll start ripping it out.
Right. You're like,
Oh, man.
Right away.
rejected. What did you say? It was
Yeah, it's rejected.
It's rejected.
Yeah.
It's rejected.
I mean, it was in San Diego. It was City Heights Park.
Okay.
Have you been there? The City Heights?
I know what you're talking about.
You guys got to
Never-
get some field trips going. Yeah,
Very true.
City Heights Park. There is like this kind of. It is kind of a weird feature. It's like the center thing. It's like this M. It's like a double wave, and it goes into a bank. So it is pretty sculptural.
Yeah.
And so the guy was just struggling, and I was like, dude, how? I mean, we gave him every 3D angle and section short of us building it ourselves, and he just couldn't get it right. And so the first time he did it, it was wrong. It was like, okay, this is rejected. It's like wavy, and the curb was wavy on the top. I saw footage of Marius backside tail sliding, shoving on it, and it was kind of wavy. And I was like, this doesn't work. So he ripped it all out, redid it again, and I came back, and that's when he was just like, he looked at us, he's like, I'll just start ripping it out.
He already knew.
He already knew.
He already knew.
Yeah, and I was like, why would you even waste our time?
You know, it's
crazy.
really respectable when I see like older parks that are built really good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like Memorial Park down in San Diego.
OG. Yeah.
OG, but it was like, it caters kind of to everyone in that little sense, you know? So it's a rad
just
people
built
come out
well.
of there. Yeah.
That was done right around the time, right after the OB Park and the Coronado Park. And the guy who designed that used to work with us outside design group. He broke off and did his own thing for a minute. And he did that park, which was kind of like pulling in a lot of that kind of like early 2000, late 90, early 2000 sort of, you know, it's like timeless, right? And I think that's what parks should be, is timeless.
For sure.
Don't make it so contemporary and weird and quirky that people are like, oh, that's cool, but once I do that, I'm done.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the hard part about even like full pipes. You know, I've had people like, oh, we need a full pipe. I was like, do you know how much money that
you're like,
takes?
no, you
Hey,
don't.
Yeah.
And I
don't
was
need a
like,
full pipe.
you know, what are you going to do with the full pipe? You know, I mean, I can
Just get
understand
top
if
of
it, yeah, I can understand if it was here, you know,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
like the
yeah.
heritage. I mean, people legitimately take care of a full pipe here, but for like some small town in the Midwest, you know, I mean, I remember going to a meeting and there was this girl like just going on and on about, we need a full pipe. And I was like, how, why? Like, that's your whole budget. You know, like, I don't know what you're going to do with that.
If there was like 100 of you asking that, maybe. But
Well,
even then,
or go get more money.
yeah.
You know,
There you
If
go.
it doesn't fit the budget, that's
it just
a whole
doesn't
different-
fit. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let me ask a question real quick. Do you think, because it's weird how street skating works, right? Like the spots that are not built for skating are what street skaters film on to make that.
100%.
Do you think there'll be a point where there'll be like someone like you or someone that builds a public place for people to actually street skate and it doesn't look like it's...
I mean, that's what we were doing at Poods Park.
Yeah,
I mean,
but still though, that's still like a skate park, right?
But that was the direction we got.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, don't make this look like a skate park.
yeah.
Like every bit of direction we got for that was the more like a real plaza it looks, the better.
Yeah.
So the original iterations of that still had quarter pipes and like, nope, too skate parky.
Okay.
So we had to make it look like a plaza because they couldn't get it approved if it was called a skate park.
Oh, interesting.
We had to call it a wheel-friendly park.
a wheel friendly.
Wheel-friendly park because the majority of it is AD accessible. That's why nothing's that big in there.
Yeah.
Because every level you can get a wheelchair in, you can get it around.
Okay.
And that's why the only transition you see is that volcano, which is kind of sculptural. Maybe that can be in any park, right? So everything we did had to make it seem kind of multi-use and honestly, that's what the skaters wanted. They're
You
like,
guys
look,
did-
Yeah.
we want something that looks like a real spot
Yep.
that we can film clips on, that we can hang out at like EMB, like Love Park. And that's what it kind of became, where when you go there, people chill there all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like they like check in and they check out. You know what I mean?
You guys did a
It's-
great job.
So
But then
that,
you're
that-
filming at that spot like it's a real spot.
It feels legit, and
Right.
it is a skate park in a sense. But that was kind of the way we were moving.
Yeah.
But like you said, go to the next level on that, where it's just in any downtown area, you can't tell where it starts or stops.
Yeah.
That would be the goal.
Yeah.
But the only reason why it hasn't happened here, and it is happening in Europe, is because here, if you don't designate that you're going into a skatable area, and grandma comes in and gets hit.
Oh, lawsuit.
And there have been grandmas who have come into a skate park area and literally fallen into a bowl.
oh my
man.
God.
It's just
Horrible.
they sue the city and you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Okay.
Like we try to have a little bit of natural separation. Like on Poods, you have the pavers and like these landscaping planners that sort of divide it a little bit, but not super prison-like. Like old school is like, you know, let's do 10-foot fences. I remember this one city lady was like, we need 10-foot fences. And I was like, why? What are you trying to do? Well, we need to control the skaters. I was like, listen to you. Control? Like, if you want to treat these skaters like prisoners, they're going to act like prisoners. Like, do you want skaters to have to break into their own skate park because you have it fenced up on hours they're not even riding? And I was like, maybe I should just put some barbed wire on top. She's like, that's a great idea.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? We're done.
We're out of here.
Wow,
We're
that's
done.
crazy.
Like,
Your
Yeah.
thought
that
process is a
that
little
project did
off.
not happen. Yeah, she was crazy, and it's just like, if, I mean, we have this problem in some of our recent projects. Like, you have all these other park amenities. No one's fencing it. No one's charging people money.
Right.
But then you're going to try to do that to a skate park? Why?
It's
Because
insane.
we're animals, Like,
Right.
I was like, listen to how you're projecting.
So crazy, dude. Well, besides that, all the other parks, dude, congratulations
Yeah,
on that.
bro.
On the new line.
And real quick, yes, congratulations on that. You see like new skaters coming up, like Dylan Jabe coming out of like some.
Oh, yeah.
So, but you see him in the park, but see him now getting into the streets. It's like
Yeah.
you created a really beautiful place for him to practice and learn shit, and then go out in the
Yeah.
streets.
I try to use him
sure.
as a good example
Yeah.
of like someone who I saw really come up in that park. And like you said, it's like legitimate ledge heights and lengths, and he can take that anywhere for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And it doesn't take much to make a skateboarder happy,
Yeah, it's
a couple
true.
ledges, some banks, like whatever. That's why you guys did a
curb.
good job on, curb.
We would have been happy with Edison back in the day.
Yeah.
That Huntington spot, which is considered temporary.
Right,
Oh,
right.
right,
Even the first version of that had to get rejected.
Oh, wow.
Because the mix was off, and I did a slappy on the curb, and the whole thing blew up.
Oh,
Well, I guess we got to try again. Because
You're rolling away. Rejected.
Yeah. It was a general contractor. That's why it's so simple. They're like, what can we do that any contractor can build? I was like, okay, that's why there's no banks, no transitions,
Right.
because they wouldn't be able to do it. I even told the guys, like, look, build me a curb that you see in a parking lot. I mean, give me something that you see in a schoolyard.
Right.
Build that. Don't worry about skate park, this, that. They just want something that feels
But
like
the important ingredients in the concrete, there's so many different kinds of concrete. There's
That's it.
It's a lot that goes into it.
So so the city wanted to keep it simple. Let's just do a napkin sketch. I was like, that's not going to work.
Oh.
So we tried to keep it really simple and not overcomplicated. It didn't work. I was like, okay, now we're going to have to go back and do this the right way.
Right.
And then it worked out.
Yeah. If you want something done right, you
You got to do it right the
what you
first
said.
got to
time.
do it right the first time.
Yeah.
But congratulations on all that stuff, man. I feel for you, it's like super fulfilling to
Yeah,
give back to
Giving back
Yeah,
to all the
bro.
things we didn't have. I mean,
Exactly.
we're like running from the cops,
Oh,
like
yeah.
jumping fences in the schoolyards, and we just didn't even have an option. Like to at least go hang out with your homies and skate somewhere before you went to
Oh,
the
yeah.
streets. Like we didn't even have that. you know?
I mean, it's weird to go to skate the courthouse now because it's legal. And
Right.
back then, it was like you're running
Right.
Yeah.
straight
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
You know. Nowadays, it's
I mean,
like,
some kids are like that. Like, give us something that makes it feel like we have to like look over our shoulder.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't make it too clean. You know,
Right,
Like, make it
right.
like, is this? you
Well, a
know,
little bit of grime.
Yeah, a little
you
bit of
know?
grit, yeah.
Little bit of
But that's
grit.
what makes skateboarding so
Little bit danger.
special. You're just skating something that's not built for it,
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Yeah.
And just the aesthetic of it is just so cool, man.
Definitely.
Hey, and thank you for my mouse pad, dude. The Storm. Once again, bro, the Storm mouse pad. Due out in theaters. I love the title for it. A major video production of catastrophic proportions.
Yeah, make it a little more complicated.
Oh my God. Bro, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14
A
people.
lot of people on that team.
Wow.
That was a special video.
And, and growing. I mean, there's more
Yeah.
people got added, and there's like the friends or the flow team.
That's
even,
right.
You know,
That's right. That's right.
There's a lot of people.
Well, dude, this has been incredible.
Yeah, bro.
Dude,
That was sick.
Kanten,
Yeah,
thank you
for
so
sharing
much
some
for
stories.
coming by.
Yeah.
Listen, can we get you a couple nights? We're running low, but maybe some Yeti
Oh, all
mugs
good.
and stuff.
Yeah.
What size are you?
Just do it like
Large or XL?
just do an XL.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, since I'm 6'5" and all, you know.
I think you're 6'7". You said 6'7"
6'7",
earlier.
yeah.
6'9".
Oh my gosh.
And you know, actually, it was funny because I have like kind of a mug like that in my car, and it's the Peak. What is it?
Highland Peak.
Highland
Yeah.
Peak.
Scott Kane.
Scott Kane. So he came by when I was working on Edison, and you know, so I didn't even know it was him because I hadn't seen him in so many years. And then he hit me. I was like, "Yo, you want some of this stuff?" And I saw his episode. I was like, "Dude, that was Scott." You know what I mean?
Oh, you
Like,
didn't even. Oh my
didn't
God, you didn't even
recognize
put two and two
I didn't
together.
even think about it, but he hit me up later. He's like, "Yo, good to see you at the park today, homie."
Right.
I was like, "Dude, I didn't even know that was you," because he just
Oh
came
my
up real quick and
God.
came out, and yeah.
Dude,
He's pretty quiet and humble.
He
for the
was,
most part,
yeah.
He's right. What's up, Kansas?
Yeah. and then take off.
Here's a bottle. But he's great, legend.
Yeah, 100%.
Switch
dude.
heel back,
Oh,
front nose on the rail.
I already know the dude's resume. He is-
And I love to see that he's killing it nowadays. He's back on the board. He's
there's a lot of people coming back around.
It's
Whereas
so
like,
nice.
yeah, I should go back into deep retirement. I'm seeing like clips of Henry Sanchez out there.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
what the
Henry
hell?
definitely done fucking killing it right
And
now.
for some reason, because we talked about this, like Guy was always put to us as like the little kid. He's not that. I'm not that much older than him.
We
like maybe
all-
a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years older than
Right,
him.
right.
How is he still going at that level?
Yeah.
Is beyond me.
Well, that's the
Man.
thing that's funny that we mentioned, earlier is like, even in 91, all those videos were going by so fast. But the fact that like we're the same age as these people, but they seem so much older
Yep.
and bigger.
Even like
They
the
were
Bones
so much
Brigade
better.
guys,
Yeah,
like
for
just.
sure.
But my whole thing is like it's good to learn from them kind of what they went through so we don't repeat the same things, or just learning how to make things, even the skate parks, learning how to make them better. Like I
Yeah.
talk to Lance a lot, and I'm just like, look, I'm a student when it comes to all the parks that came before these parks, and like what worked, what didn't, what are we trying to accomplish here.
Right.
And I think it's good just to kind of like try to pass that down to the next group of
100%.
where we came from.
I love
as,
what
as a
you're
culture, and
Dude.
you know what I mean.
I love what you're doing, man.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's beautiful, bro.
All for the love of skateboarding.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. First of all, Kanten, bro,
Dude.
pleasure, dude. Thank you so much
Hey,
for coming
brother.
by, dude.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
This is let's see, here's some 9 Club shit, bro. There's a 9 Club shirt for you, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
we got a hoodie.
I'm down
Listen,
for that.
if you go to
Hoodie
a
or
little
crew?
city council meeting out in Minnesota or somewhere where it's cold,
Hey, that might help.
wear your little hoodie.
That might help it get it approved.
Listen, you're
9 Club approved.
I'm actually psyched on those.
yeah, we got the
Especially
money.
being a video day fan. for
Video
sure.
days with the updated Bitcoin
I
right
like
there.
it.
Jason Lee inspired.
Bitcoin ain't doing too
I
hot
was
right
about
now.
to say that, bro. Jesus.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
The
Don't
dollar's
worry
not doing
about
well
it.
It goes up and down, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Right
Dollars
now
in the
it's
same
down.
boat.
It's like a half pipe, Up and it's down. Up and it's down. Kanten, here's a
Sick.
9
Yeah, this
Club.
is
Keep
good
hydrated
work.
when you're on the plane.
Love it. Yeah.
And we got a belt for you as well. We did a little collab with
Wow.
Grip 6. Jerron
Nice.
wears them with his
I'm wearing them right now with my
basketball
basketball
shorts.
shorts.
I like it, yeah.
I never leave home without it.
And last but not least, stickers, bro.
Yep, hand these out at the kids,
Well, no,
100%.
next skate park, you put them all
Put them on the
along,
skate park. Yep.
all over the skate park, the new build.
Well, this is all going to come in handy when
Yeah.
we help advocate for the new Venice parks.
Hey, there we
Yeah,
go.
there we go.
There we go.
It's
Dude.
amazing how hyped the city people are when you like. It's like, here's some stickers, and I was like, oh, sick, like it just gets them excited. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're like, we just want to work on cool projects that people actually want because they deal with a lot
amazing.
of heat, so like, and I tell them all the time, I was like, let's have fun with it. Let's make it a positive thing. Cause like, we're trying to like give this out like a Christmas present, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
Right.
dude, for
it's
sure.
So I always try to keep it positive. Like, look, this is a good thing. Don't get distracted. And they're just used to just always catching heat from the community. You know what I mean?
I'm
So-
sure. I'm sure.
But I think we can do that Venice spot.
you're
for
doing
sure.
a great thing,
We
bro.
get it
That would be
Listen,
rad.
all good. All
Yeah.
good. Hey, thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for all your contributions to skateboarding and
Yeah,
still contributing to skateboarding. Dude, you're killing it, bro. I love
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Next time we'll share even more crazy stories. We just scratched the surface on some of that stuff.
A lot of good stories here.
What did we
Yeah, a lot.
miss?
Stay
Yeah, we got a
tuned
lot,
for
yeah.
part 2, huh?
Yeah.